Hey, everyone! If you enjoy my quantum audiobooks, you can support me by becoming a Patreon member. Your support helps me keep creating, and you'll get exclusive perks. You can also access my audiobooks directly through Google Drive. Check out the link in the description. Now, let's get started.
As for Ron saying that he guessed it randomly, of course it is impossible to believe it. No one is so stupid as to believe that someone could guess it so accurately. After all, it is a name, and names come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. It is impossible that you can just guess one, and it will be exactly what the other person is thinking of. So no one believes that Ron guessed it randomly. I always thought he had magical powers. But since Ron didn't want to say it, they couldn't continue asking. Because they knew very well that as long as Ron didn't want to say it, no matter how they asked, they couldn't get the correct answer. This had been verified countless times before, so they didn't know why they didn't go this time. Since Ron didn't say anything, they didn't ask. And just at this moment, Dorag did say, "That's not right. Luffy is obviously a boy's name, but how do you know it's a boy? It's fine if you guess the name right. After all, it's what I think in my heart. Even if you can see my mind, no matter what the reason is, there's nothing wrong with you guessing the name. But how do you know it's a boy or a girl? I don't understand this. Can you see through my wife's belly?" I have to say, when I say this, Durger was still somewhat embarrassed. After all, how could he explain this kind of thing? It was really hard to say it out loud. After all, she was his wife. If the other party could see through his wife's belly, it would be too unbelievable. No matter how I think about it, I feel a little uncomfortable. When Ron heard this, he sighed speechlessly. Hey, don't talk nonsense. I don't have such bad taste. Are you crazy? Ron would never do this to a married woman. It was too embarrassing. But this really couldn't solve Dorag's confusion, because the name Montan was understandable, but it was too unbelievable to tell whether they were a boy or a girl. Even Garp was speechless at this time. He scratched his head and said, "Oh, I haven't thought about this question before. How do you know whether it's a boy or a girl? This is really unbelievable. Could it be that you really see through it?" This made Durger's wife feel a little embarrassed. After all, it was her child. If the other party saw through it, it would be a bit unreasonable. In fact, Dorag's wife didn't know whether she was giving birth to a boy or a girl. Because from this perspective, the pregnancy is only 2 months. Normally speaking, who can tell whether it is a boy or a girl from a 2-month pregnancy? This is too exaggerated. Even if you can see through it, you can't tell whether it's a boy or a girl. So, Dorag's wife was speechless. But these were Ron's words after all. In fact, if anyone else had said them, Dorego would not have believed them at all. But since Ron actually said whether it was a boy or a girl, then it was certain. This gave Durag a terrible idea. Could it be that Ron's observation hockey could already see 1 year into the future? What kind of terrifying ability is this? It's impossible, right? No matter how I think about it, it seems impossible. And at this time, Garp said suddenly, "Ron, please tell us how you figured it out." Sengoku was really speechless, because now the topics discussed are increasingly deviating from what he wants to know most. Why are they starting to discuss whether to have a boy or a girl? Wasn't it like this before? Weren't they discussing the marriage between himself and Staff Officer He before? However, when Sengoku thought of this, he suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. This is also good. At least the war will not be focused on me. And at least they will not discuss issues that will embarrass me and Staff Officer He. But even so, Sengoku still felt a little embarrassed, or there are some small regrets. In fact, he wanted Ron to facilitate the relationship between him and Staff Officer He because he couldn't make any progress on his own. However, since the other party was concerned about this matter, he couldn't say anything. Facing the questioning of Durger and Garp, Ron could only watch helplessly at what he said. "Then you will assume that after 1 year of my ability to see, you will give birth to a boy, and that boy will be named Luffy." However, this is a bit exaggerated. In fact, Ron does not have such a powerful observation hockey. It is pure nonsense for him to use observation hockey to see the scene 1 year later. This ability to predict the future does not exist at all, so Ron cannot have it. But those two guys kept talking nonstop, so Ron could only blurt it out casually. Anyway, he could say anything, and the other party had no way to verify it. He just had to give him an answer, so that they would stop chattering. Originally, what Ron said was unbelievable, and no normal person would believe it. But after all, it was Ron who said it, and everyone present had a clear understanding of Ron's powerful influence. So when he said this, everyone subconsciously believed it. After all, they have no other choice except blind dating. And at this time, Garp said in surprise, "It's really amazing. Is the sword soul hockey really that powerful? Can it really see things that will happen after such a long time? It's really unbelievable. If I can master this kind of observation hockey, wouldn't I be invincible? No wonder so many people can't beat Ross. It turns out that your observation hockey is so powerful. That means that before you debuted, you knew all of the opponent's moves in a year. Wouldn't it be too easy to defend? Although it's a little unbelievable no matter how you look at it." But that was what Ron said after all. No matter what, they had to choose to believe it because they had no ability to question it, because the difference in strength between them and Ron was too great. When such a gap existed, even if everyone wanted to question it, there was no way to do so. So they can only believe whatever the other party says. Although it was somewhat unreasonable, they could only think that their realm was not high enough. Ron also saw the other party's expression. Seeing their conflicted expressions, but having to believe it, he was really speechless. However, this was also his purpose. As long as the other party stopped being conflicted and asking questions, it would be fine. As for how they are struggling now, it has nothing to do with me. Ron continued, "Although what you said is a bit exaggerated, it is unlikely that it will happen in battle. The situation changes randomly during battle, so it is impossible to see that far. Okay, let's not discuss this anymore. Let's continue discussing the matter between Sengoku and Chief of Staff Kizaru." Ron changed the topic from the previous boy or girl issue to Sengoku and Staff Officer He. Unexpectedly, the topic was brought back. Sengoku was speechless. Hearing that Ron wanted to continue discussing his own affairs, he didn't know what to say. If he didn't let the other party discuss, it wouldn't work. If he let the other party discuss, this guy would talk endlessly, and he didn't know how the matter would develop. After all, Chief of Staff, he is already very embarrassed. So if Ron continues to talk, it will cause him and Chief of Staff Kizaru to go further, which would be embarrassing. After all, although Sengoku said on the surface that he didn't want to be with Chief of Staff Kizaru, he still had this idea deep down. So, on the one hand, he wants Ron to help him, but on the other hand, he feels a little embarrassed and doesn't know how to deal with these things. Sengoku is a very twisted person now, but there is no way. And at this time, Ron suddenly continued, "By the way, why don't I see Staff Officer He? Where did he go? I remember he was here at the beginning." When Ron finished saying this, everyone turned their eyes to where Staff Officer He had been standing and found that he was not there at all. He had disappeared. Looking around, there was no trace of him. This was strange because he was still here just now. How could he disappear after such a short while? Garp said it carelessly. Where did this guy go? Could it be that he left early because he was too shy? That's impossible. I've been his colleague for so many years, and I never noticed that he was shy. This guy is usually very serious and stern. How could he run away just because of a few words? Could it be that the guy didn't like Sengoku, so he must have left here in a rage? Haha, this is also possible. After all, Sengoku is a blockhead. It's no fun to be with him. I have to say, Garp's words are still very irritating. Sengoku said speechlessly. Sengoku was so angry that he almost vomited blood and died. He took a deep breath and then spoke slowly. I said, "Are you guys crazy? Is that the point? He was clearly here just now, but he left early because you guys kept talking nonsense. It's all your fault, old man. You're so outspoken, and you've d me off." After Sengoku finished speaking, Garp rubbed his head nonchalantly and continued. How was that possible? Oh, right. Let's go find Staff Officer He first. Other things are not important. Find this guy here. Since Mr. Ruin wants to help you two get together, this is the most important thing. Anyway, Mr. Luo Rinshao has never taken the initiative to do anything, so I can't wait to know if he can bring you two together. If he can, it will be an interesting thing. Garp is still very much looking forward to this matter. So he sincerely hoped that Luo could quickly deal with this matter. After all, he also wanted to know whether he could get these two old guys together. although it was unlikely. It would be really exciting if he could really do this. Please give me flowers. Anyway, in the current situation, if there is no external force imposed, then Chief of Staff Kizaru and Sengoku will never be together. So, in fact, Garp was very worried about getting the two of them together. After all, if they missed this opportunity, they would never have it again. At this time, no one could find Staff Officer He, so they had no time to continue eating barbecue. After all, compared to eating melons, no one cared about eating barbecue now. If you can eat the Marine Marshal and the Marine staff, this opportunity is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Who would still think about the party at this time? 0-0. Everyone is looking for Staff Officer He now, which is very strange because there are so many people present. If Staff Officer He wants to leave here, it is impossible that no one has seen him. So where did he go? Everyone began to disperse and search on their own. After searching for a long time, there was no sign of him. Slowly, Sengoku started to have some connections because normally, Staff Officer He would never disappear for no reason. This time, his disappearance for no reason was really too unusual. 012903318 Philo 1104111271. Where the hell did this guy go? After all, Sengoku actually cares a lot about slaying demons. Especially at this critical juncture, this guy disappeared. Could it be, as Garp said, that he had some bad opinion of himself and didn't want to be with him, so he disappeared early? No matter how I think about it, I feel that this is the only explanation. But if this is true, Sengoku is still speechless because, to be honest, his heart will be greatly hurt. I have to admit it. Sengoku's heart was a little hurt now, because no matter how he thought about it, he felt that this possibility was very high. If this was true, he would be very frustrated. Normally, he thought that there was still some emotional factor between him and Staff Officer He. He could also feel that he was interested in him, and Sengoku also felt that he should have a good image in Staff Officer He's heart. But now Staff Officer He heard that Ron wanted to match him in him, and he ran away. Any normal man would be very upset to hear this news on April 20th, let alone a Marine Marshal like Sengoku. After all, as a Marine Marshal, he still has very high aspirations, so now he feels more than twice as uncomfortable as an ordinary person. He really feels extremely uncomfortable, but there was nothing he could do. If the fact was really like this, he had no way to change it. He could only quickly find Chief of Staff He and tell him that he had no such intention at all and asked Ron to stop trying to bring them together. In this way, maybe they could still be friends in the future. Sengoku could only sigh sadly while searching aimlessly for him, not knowing where he was and not being able to sense him even with the observation hockey. This is somewhat unexpected, but it is understandable. After all, observation hockey is not omnipotent. And at this time, Garp said as he walked over to him, Hey, why are you so listless, old man? Aren't you very confident? Why do you look a little depressed now? Damn, no way. You really think that the tea-drinking mode left here because he didn't want to be with you, right? I advise you not to think so. Although I'm not sure, I can at least confirm that the guy should still be interested in you, and he should not mind being with you. I think he left here for another reason. I have to say that although Garp and Sengoku are both innocent in normal times, Garp still stands on Sengoku's side at this critical moment and can often give Sengoku some psychological comfort. This is also a big role of Garp. Sengoku felt a little better when he heard this, but he also knew that he was not comforting him, and he now believed in his heart that Chief of Staff Kizaru left here just to avoid him. The more he thought about it, the more uncomfortable he felt. However, there was no other solution now. He could only find him first. At least if he found the person, he could ask him if that was what he really meant. If it was true, then Sengoku would know that he would never bother him again, or stay as far away from him as possible. Sengoku even wanted to continue his position as Marine Marshal and not stay in the Marine. This shows how Sengoku's mentality has fallen. Garp also saw Sengoku's mood. This guy didn't even bother to talk to him. Normally, he would have said something to him long ago. The fact that he didn't talk to him at this time meant that he was very upset and didn't have time to talk to him. Garp could only cough twice, then spoke slowly. But did you notice something very strange? The plot was standing behind both of us. There are so many Marines surrounding us. Even with our strength, it's impossible for us to leave here without being noticed. There are so many people here. It's impossible that no one can find us. So I think it's a bit strange. Hearing Keikian say this, Sengoku nodded. He also felt that there was something wrong with this step 4.1. Because he was caught up in emotional entanglement before, he didn't have the energy to think about this matter. Now that he has come to terms with it, he puts all his energy into thinking about this matter, and he feels there is something wrong. That means Chief of Staff, he is not as strong as the two of them. How could he disappear without anyone noticing? It is absolutely impossible. Even if it was hidden from all the Marines around here, it couldn't be hidden from these two. How come they didn't notice it? Everyone was in a state of bewilderment. No one had expected things to develop to this point. I searched here for a long time, but couldn't find Staff Officer he. Logically speaking, this is impossible. Staff Officer, he would not disappear without any reason. As the most stable person in the Marine, he usually does things in an orderly manner. How could he suddenly disappear? This is indeed very strange. But the current situation is like this. The other party suddenly disappeared, and no one knows where he went. This is indeed a very speechless thing. But the 18 big companies tried their best to find it, but couldn't find it. Sengoku was even more speechless. Now things are complicated. I didn't expect that I would lose the Marine Staff Officer when I came here. Awkward. But how can we alleviate the embarrassment in front of us? This is indeed a very troublesome problem. At this time, Sengoku suddenly said, "What should we do next? We have confirmed that Staff Officer, he is no longer on the island. How is that possible? Even if he really wanted to leave, it would be impossible for him to leave the island in such a short time. Besides, none of the ships have left. How did he disappear like that?" Sengoku also fell into panic at this time. As the saying goes, those who are involved in the matter are often the most confused. Once he panicked, he could not think normally. After all, Chief of Staff, he was the person he cared about the most. It was really amazing that someone could capture someone with them under the protection of so many people. Actually, Sengoku already suspected at this time that Staff Officer, he was not lost on his own, but was abducted by someone. Because he knew Staff Officer he very well, he would never disappear without a reason, and he was also very clear about Staff Officer he's strength. With his strength, it was impossible for him to leave the island quietly under the eyes of himself and Garp. Moreover, none of the surrounding boats moved, which meant that he did not leave by boat, which was even more impossible. After all, he is demon fruit power, and it is impossible for him to swim away. So the only explanation now is that he was kidnapped. This is too scary. Who did it? Who could take him away when he and Garp insisted like this? Moreover, they took Chief of Staff he away. Although Chief of Staff he's strength is not as good as the two of them, his strength is not low either. Even if a stronger person comes to capture him, he will be able to resist for a while. With so many people present, it was impossible that no one noticed him when he resisted. So what's going on? No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't figure it out. Now he has fallen into a dilemma. However, if there was anyone in the world who could capture Chief of Staff he right under their noses, that person could only be Ron. But Ron had been standing in front of him without moving. So how could he take Chief of Staff he away? Because they had been talking to Ron before, they knew Ron's movements very clearly, which made them even more certain that it couldn't have been Ron who did it. Besides, Ron has no motive either. How could it be possible that he did this? So Sengoku is 10 points speechless. There is no way to find it. The problem is that apart from Ron, there is no one else in the world who can take Staff Officer he away quietly in front of him and Garp. This made Sengoku very conflicted. I no longer have the confidence to keep searching. I can only sigh here. He looked very sad. Sengoku just felt a pain in his head. Sengoku was extremely depressed at this time. He really couldn't imagine how this could happen, but there was no other way now. No matter how hard he looked, he couldn't find him. He had searched almost all places on the island, but there was no trace of Chief of Staff he anywhere. It was as if he had never been to this island. This was the most terrifying thing. Sengoku could only sigh helplessly, and then he had to admit in a daze that the disappearance of Chief of Staff Crane did deal him a great blow. At this time, Keijian stood up and said, "It's really strange. It shouldn't be like this. What's going on? Ron, you should know this, right?" Actually, Garp wasn't sure whether Ron knew about it, but he had no other choice but to ask Ron. With Ron's strength, he should be able to notice something unusual. Even if he and Sengoku couldn't feel it, Ron would definitely feel it. If someone really took Chief of Staff He away by force, then the only one who might find out would be Ron. After all, his strength is obvious to all, and everyone believes in his strength very much. It is impossible for someone to take someone away in front of Ron. If someone took someone away in front of him and the results of the battle, it is understandable. There should be such people in the world, but taking someone away in front of Ron is not allowed. There is no doubt about how strong Ron is. So now, they can only hope that Luo can help them look for it, or provide them with some clues. There is no other way now. After all, Garp also knows very well that he has searched it with his own strength just now, but he didn't find any clues at all. Moreover, Beiji, who is good at seeing and hearing, can't detect the existence of other people on the island, nor can he sense the whereabouts of Chief of Staff He. So, I can only rely on Ron. Sengoku suddenly felt hopeful when he heard what Garp asked. He was so anxious that he fainted and didn't even think of asking Ron. According to the current situation, basically only Ron can solve their problem. If it weren't for Ron, then no one could solve their problem. At this time, Ron just coughed twice and then spoke lightly. The truth. If you want to find Staff Officer He, this matter is actually not very complicated. Hear this. Sengoku and Garp's expressions instantly became very serious and surprised, because they really couldn't imagine that they would get such a good encouragement from Ron. They were just desperate and just wanted to give it a try. They asked Ron with this idea in mind because they were not sure what definite answer Ron could give them. However, they did not expect that after asking, the other party would give them such an easy answer. This made the two of them feel a sense of hope instantly. Sengoku and Kagai looked at each other and then said excitedly, "Zhao Hao." As expected, "It must be Ron. You really know the whereabouts of Chief of Staff He. Can you tell us where he went now? Let him out quickly." The two men said almost at the same time that no matter what, as old comrades in arms for many years, they were still very concerned about the whereabouts of Staff Officer He. So when Ron said this, I was very excited. Ron looked at the two old guys who were so anxious and couldn't help but sigh. He had to admit that these two guys were still very worried about drinking tea, so Ron would not keep them in suspense. Just speak directly. In fact, Staff Officer Crane has not left here. As soon as these words came out, Sengoku and Garp instantly felt incredible because they had searched all places on the island, but could not find Goat Saimu's whereabouts. At this time, Luo said that Chief of Staff He had not left here. How was it possible? If he really did not leave here, then where was this person? It was impossible for him to disappear on the spot, so everyone was very surprised at this time. Why did Ron say this? What does it mean? No one could figure out what it meant, so they could only sigh. They hoped Luo could quickly explain why he didn't leave the island after drinking tea. If he really didn't leave, where was he? And at this time, Ron then said slowly, "Other people have come to our island. So Staff Officer He did not leave the island, but was just hidden by others." After saying this, Sengoku and Garp's expressions instantly became serious. The two of them looked at each other and said in shock, "What? You mean how is it possible that someone else came to this island? If someone really came here, we couldn't have failed to notice it. After the large-scale search just now, if there were any suspicious people, they should have been discovered immediately, right?" The two old guys were very confused, because from the perspective of purpose, it was impossible for anyone else to come in. If there really was someone, then they couldn't have been taken away during the search just now, and there must have been some clues. So the two of them were very confused about the threat issue. If someone came here and kidnapped Chief of Staff He and left the island, this was easier to understand. After all, they had just searched for a long time and didn't find anyone, so this possibility is very likely to exist, but they had already searched for a long time and didn't find the whereabouts. And they have walked around the entire island, BC, so if they haven't found any human figures at this time, it is impossible that they are still on this island. This is also very simple common sense. Any normal person should understand this common sense. But why did Ron still say that the other party was on this island? This was indeed a very strange question, but the two of them didn't know where the other party was exactly, so they could only let Ron continue talking. Sengoku asked, "Where is Staff Officer he? We have already visited this island and found no suspicious places or people. We have not seen Staff Officer he. So where is it?" Ron was too lazy to talk nonsense with these two guys because he could see that they were very anxious, so he told them off immediately. "Do you know the transparent fruit? A guy who ate the transparent fruit came to this island and hid Heat Sanshuan. If I'm not mistaken, they came here to barbecue this special Poseidon. 11 foot. Hearing Ron say this, Sengoku and Garp's expressions suddenly became serious. If that's really the case, it is indeed possible. After all, the invisibility fruit can indeed hide others. But if it is really the invisibility fruit, then what exactly is it? Who exactly has this known mode now?" When Sengoku and Garp heard this conclusion, they couldn't help but start thinking about it. After all, although what Ross said might not be true, it is indeed a direction worth thinking about now. So the two of them started thinking in this direction. Sengoku said with a sigh, "As far as I know, no one has possessed the invisibility fruit for a long time, and no one knows who has it now. If someone with the ability of the invisibility fruit really came here, then it is very possible. After all, Dasha has a very important characteristic. That is, when you see this hockey, you can't detect him. This is the most terrifying thing. If this person really came here in stealth mode, then what should we do next?" This is indeed a question worth thinking about. Garp nodded when he heard Sengoku's words. "Yes, as long as it is invisible, we will not be able to detect its existence. Even if it hides in a corner of this island, we will not be able to find it. It can also remain hidden forever. What should we do? Moreover, when the invisibility fruit is used, very little energy is consumed, and it is said that it can maintain the invisible state forever." Sengoku and Garp looked at each other and saw the difficulty in each other's eyes. From this perspective, it may be a very difficult problem to solve. If they are really invisible, then the two of them have no way to find them, and no way to wake them up from the invisible state. If the other party is really determined to hide himself, then he can just stay invisible on the island. After all, Marine and his gang can't stay here forever. There will always be a day to leave. In this way, he can leave Marine safely, and it is impossible for him to spend so much mental energy to waste here with him. So the problem now has become very serious. When the others heard the conversation between Sengoku and Garp, they couldn't help but feel sad, if that's really the case. So, it will take a long time to find Sengoku, but from the perspective of the purpose, there is no way to find it. Sengoku continues to do it. Request flowers. Ron, since you already know that the other party used invisibility to pass away, then there must be a way to detect where the other party is. I have no way to detect the whereabouts of the invisibility fruit. After all, the invisibility fruit is the most special among all the devil fruits. Basically, as long as you don't actively cancel the invisibility state, it is difficult to be detected. This is also the most difficult thing for Sengoku. If the other party is determined to hide himself, then Sengoku really has no way of detecting the other party's location. Ron couldn't help but smile when he saw Sengoku's very anxious expression. "Don't worry, just as you expected. Since I already know why he disappeared here, I can certainly find his location, so you don't have to worry about this matter. Now, I will slowly look for his location, don't worry." Ron didn't want to waste time on this matter, so he decided to solve the problem at hand quickly, because he still wanted to see Sengoku and Chief of Staff he walking together. It must be said that in order to satisfy his own pleasure, Wei Chuanin would definitely take this matter seriously. Hearing Ron's dismissive reply, Sengoku and Garp were grateful and almost cried for their old friend, because after all, he was their old friend, and there were very few old friends who could survive until now, so they cherished him very much. If they could really find Chief of Staff, it would be a very important thing for them. How could they not be happy? Jean said excitedly. 710. If that's the case, thank you so much. I don't know how to thank you enough. If you need Marine in the future, just tell me. Tiger will do his best to help you. This is the first time Sengoku has made such a promise as a Marine Marshal, which is very rare for someone as cautious as him. Garp also nodded and said, "That's right. If Ron can really find staff officer then Old Guan should be very grateful." Both of them are 10 points serious. Ron couldn't help but shook his head when he saw this. These guys were really loyal, but Ron didn't have any use for them. After all, Luo Yuan could solve everything by himself. These guys were actually of no use to him in any way, but it didn't matter. Ron didn't plan to let them help him. So he said lightly, "Good, then I will start looking for him now. I will definitely find him for you. So you two don't have to worry now. Just relax. I think you two are very nervous." 11 foot. Hearing what Ron said, the two old guys couldn't help but smile at each other, both feeling a little embarrassed. After all, it was a bit unreasonable to embarrass myself in front of such a junior this time, but there was no other way. Sengoku said calmly, "Thank you very much then." Ron didn't need to reply. Instead, he closed his eyes and began to sense. Although the ability of this invisibility fruit seems to be quite intense, because in this era when observation hockey are everywhere, invisibility seems to have no meaning, but in fact, this invisibility fruit is different from ordinary invisibility. It can completely hide all of its aura, and even hockey cannot sense it. This is the terrifying part of this fruit, and this is also the main reason why so many powerful people want to obtain the invisibility fruit. Soon, under Ron's perception, he sensed the changes in the surrounding atmosphere. Of course, he did not use observation hockey to perceive it, because the invisibility fruit could not be sensed by observation hockey. Ron used a different approach. I have to admit that this method is quite powerful. He senses and judges by sensing the breath of living creatures, because even if he is invisible, he cannot hide his own biological breath. In other words, this is a kind of thermal imaging principle. As soon as Ron opened his eyes, it seemed as if all the hot things in front of him were reflected in his sight. Suddenly, he saw a place in the air in the distance where there was nothing, but there was a state of heat induction there. 5.5 obviously. That is where the user of the invisibility fruit ability hides. And that location is on a very high hill. It seems that guy was hiding aside and watching everyone's joke. He really has a bad taste. Ron couldn't help but laugh. It seems like it's time to teach this guy a lesson. Being laughed at for no reason is not something Ron likes to do. Seeing this, Ron slowly closed his eyes. Then, the whole figure disappeared instantly. He disappeared right in front of Sengoku Garp, which made the two old guys feel extremely shocked. They didn't expect Ron's strength to be so powerful that he could disappear in front of them in an instant without them noticing. Now, they don't know where Ron is. What a terrifying speed. It was so scary that even little Kizaru was shocked. After all, even his flash fruit couldn't reach such speed. Sengoku said in surprise, "This is too fast, this. Where on earth did that guy Ron go? My eyes and hockey can't even keep up with his speed. How can he be so fast? This guy is much stronger than the last time I saw him. How is this possible? How can he improve so much in such a short time?" To be honest, Sengoku is a little confused now, because having reached their current level, they cannot clearly realize their strength, and it is very difficult to improve. Generally speaking, the stronger a person is, the more difficult it is for him to improve. The improvement is also slower. But this guy, Thread, is a freak. Sengoku clearly remembers that his strength was not so terrifying when he saw him last time. He didn't expect that after just a few months of not seeing him, his strength has increased so much again. This is terrible. After all, for someone as powerful as him, it would be strange if he could grow a little bit, but it is really unbelievable that he can grow so much. Garp on the side also showed a serious expression and said, "What a monster! At this rate, if he continues to grow, he will probably be an opponent that all of our Marines combined would not know. How is this possible? How on earth did he do it? If I continue to practice according to his method, will my strength improve so quickly?" Garp couldn't help but think of the training method left by Ron. Even at this time, he was already extremely excited. It would be great if he could achieve such rapid progress again. After all, It seemed as if there were shackles on his body that restricted his strength and prevented him from growing any further. And just at this moment, Ron suddenly appeared on a small hill. When Ron showed up, Garp and Sengoku saw Ron's direction again. They couldn't help but sigh. They didn't expect that the other party had moved so far away in an instant. What surprised them even more was Ron's next move. After all, they didn't know why Ron was there first, and what was he going to do? And just at this moment, a cold light flashed. Ron suddenly stretched out a hand into the air, as if trying to grab something. Immediately following, suddenly there was a powerful explosion. A force seemed to tear through heaven and earth, locking this space here. 603 in an instant. A scream resounded through the heavens and earth. Suddenly something in Ron's hand seemed to take shape. Ron was seen grabbing a man's neck with one hand. It was the guy who ate the invisibility fruit, and this guy was holding Staff Officer He in his other hand. As expected, it was he who captured Chief of Staff He. Sengoku and Garp couldn't help but gasp when they saw this scene. They never thought that Ron really caught this guy who could become invisible, and it turned out that this guy had captured Chief of Staff Crane. It's surprising and reassuring at the same time. The two men looked at each other for a moment, then suddenly jumped towards where Ron was. They wanted to see who was so bold. This kind of horror was really beyond their expectations. Just at this moment, Sengoku and Garp have come in front of Ron. They finally saw who the invisible person in front of them was. Since this guy was grabbed by the neck by Ron, he came out of the invisible state, so now everyone can see his appearance. Sengoku looked at the person in front of him. He really didn't know this person because he had never heard of this person from any information or rumors. So he asked, "Who are you? Why did you come here? And why did you capture Staff Officer He?" When Sengoku said this, he saw Staff Officer He held in the invisible man's hand. Fortunately, he was not seriously injured. But this was enough to make Sengoku angry. I heard Sengoku ask this. The invisible man snorted coldly and said nothing. Instead, it was Staff Officer He who said it. "This guy, I have never seen this person anywhere, nor do I have any news about him. He seems to have appeared out of nowhere. What's going on?" Staff Officer He is now different from his usual behavior. He doesn't care about the injury he suffered before being caught. After all, he has also been through the war, and this injury is insignificant. The most serious thing for him now is the person in front of him. This guy, very weird, because there is no record of its existence. After all, it stands to reason that in this pirate's world, anyone with a little bit of strength has some reputation. After all, everyone wants to be famous. The man they just captured was also very strong. Chief of Staff, he initially judged that his strength was at least stronger than his own, or even stronger than Garp. This is what scares Chief of Staff the most. How is it possible that such a powerful guy is still unknown in the pirate's world? After all, such a strong person will definitely become famous. After hearing what Chief of Staff he said, Sengoku understood what he meant. Where did you come from? What is your purpose? Why did you capture Chief of Staff he? Sengoku instinctively felt that the man in front of him was not that simple. He couldn't have captured Staff Officer Tsuru for no reason. He must have some hidden secret behind his capture. However, no matter how Sengoku asked, the man in front of him just wouldn't say anything. This makes Sengoku very magical. Garp had a bad temper to begin with, so he rushed over and grabbed the man's glass, then raised his fist, ready to kill him with one punch. But the opponent still had an indifferent expression, as if he didn't care about Garp's punch at all. Garp coughed twice and then spoke. "Ugh, what's going on? Hurry up and tell me." The two guys asked for a long time, but the other party didn't say anything, which made Sengoku and Garp speechless. They looked at Ron and then spoke slowly. "Ron, what's going on with this guy? Do you know him? What's he doing here? What does he have?" Since Sengoku and Garp had no other options, he instinctively thought that Chuan, Li Hao, In should know. After all, Ron is a very mysterious guy, and his strength is also very powerful. So my, if anyone could know, it would be him. I heard Sengoku and Garp ask this. Ron spread his hands helplessly. To be honest, he was also very curious because he had never seen such a person in the Pirates anime. So, Zero. He also wanted to know who the other party was. To be honest, Ron had never seen this invisible guy before, and he didn't exist in the original book. In the original book, there were only two people who could use the invisibility fruit. One was the leopard head on the horror triangular sailboat, and the other was Blackbeard's subordinate, the guy who was once in the underwater prison. Apart from these two people, no one else has eaten the invisibility fruit. So, what's going on? How could it be possible that someone else suddenly appeared and ate the invisibility fruit? But if you think about it carefully, this is possible. After all, the current timeline is much earlier than that time, so it is not very strange what happened on 530. There is one thing to note, however. That is it. It's a bit strange why this guy suddenly attacked Marine. And it's on this island. So Ron slowly turned his gaze to the invisible guy. Under Ron's control, he was no longer able to become invisible. So Ron just looked at him and asked, "Tell me, who are you and what is your purpose here?" Ron's voice was very cold. People who are familiar with Ron can hear that Ron is very serious at this time. So the atmosphere of the scene suddenly became cold, and everyone was terrified because they have never seen Ron so serious. It seems that the situation is very serious. However, this invisible guy didn't show any terrifying expression, but instead showed a very rare expression. He glanced at Ron calmly before speaking. "You little kid, you do have some skills, but they are useless. You can't kill me. Even if you kill me, I won't tell you why I came here. Haha." The invisible man's words made everyone present extremely angry. No one expected that this guy would be so stubborn and would not tell anyone even if he was beaten to death. But no one dared to really beat him to death. If they beat him to death, they really couldn't figure out what his purpose was. Sengoku said angrily, "Then why did you want to drink tea? Why did you go against the Marine? Are you using the Marine doctrine? Your target should be the Marine, right? Tell me who sent you here." Sengoku, get ready to blast him. The invisible man said disdainfully, "Don't play those language tricks on me. You can't get anything out of me. Actually, I'm not afraid to tell you. It's impossible for you to catch me. The reason why I was caught by you now is that I let you catch me on purpose. Do you really think you can catch me?" As soon as the words fell, the invisible man disappeared instantly in front of everyone. It's not invisible, but he really left here. This left Sengoku and Garp stunned. After all, this invisible person left in front of the two of them. It was impossible that with their strength, they did not participate in this person's actions just now. The two of them panicked instantly. Could it be that this guy had escaped? The two looked around quickly. "But we searched everywhere, but couldn't find anything of this guy's. How could it be possible that even if he could leave here instantly, the distance he moved couldn't be too far, right? It's impossible for him to disappear within sight, right? Where did it go?" No one expected that this guy could run so fast. It is not easy to find him again now, because the reason why we could find him before was because he held Chief of Staff hostage. So if he had been hiding with Chief of Staff, it would be impossible for him to be as perfect as it is now. There would always be some flaws, which is why he was found. But now Chief of Staff, he has been rescued. So if he is hiding now, there is no flaw at all, and it would be extremely difficult to find him again. Sengoku said, scratching his head. "Damn it, did we let this guy get away again? What should we do now? This guy's existence is not a good thing for us, so we absolutely cannot let him leave here safely." Everyone started to try their best to find him. Although he can be invisible, he can't leave this island. In other words, if we completely surround this island, he will not be able to leave here. I don't believe he can maintain his invisible state. After all, it is a devil fruit. Using the power of the devil fruit will definitely consume physical strength. It is impossible for him to be safe and sound. Apu also nodded and said, "That's right. It's absolutely impossible to not use up any of your energy. Even if you turn invisible, you can't try to maintain this state. Perhaps after a while, he won't be able to maintain this state and will show up." And at this time, Staff Officer, he also said dash. "Yes, when he caught me before, I could feel that the ability he used to become invisible was indeed from the devil. The fruit was correct, so according to the principle of the devil fruit, he must have a limit on his physical strength. It is impossible for anyone without the fruit to consume nothing. So we just need to surround this island and set up surveillance cameras everywhere. Once he shows up, I can find his location. These 10 points are totally unnecessary. Even if he can run now, he will be caught later. Everyone started to make arrangements one after another because this person must be caught. For Marine, this uncertain person must be caught. Otherwise, who knows what kind of trouble he will bring in the future. And this person showed the idea of being an enemy of Marine. Such people cannot be kept for long. Request flowers? Sengoku said as he looked at Ron. Do you have any idea to catch this guy? If we let him escape so recklessly, he will be a big threat to our Marines. Do you have any idea? After all, he thought that if he could catch this guy once, he could catch this guy twice. So we still hope that he can continue to deal with it, because Marine has no other choice now and can only use this method of waiting and seeing. Sengoku really has no other choice, so he said, little hand. 012903318 Falu 110431 Ron nodded and said, if he wants to leave here, he actually has many ways to do it. The reason why he didn't leave here is not because he doesn't have the ability to leave here, but because he has other purposes for staying here. In other words, he will never leave here until he achieves his goal. Sengoku and Garp were confused when they heard what Ron said. They really didn't understand. What do you mean? What's his purpose? Is he here for another purpose that we don't know about? Hey! When an invisible man heard this, his face changed instantly. Fortunately, he was invisible at this time, and no one noticed his expression. He was very surprised. Why did this little brat in front of him know his purpose? What was going on? He had never seen this guy before. How come this guy seemed to be able to see through him? He was able to catch him when he was invisible just now. This was really weird. It seems that he needs to stay away from this guy, otherwise he might die at his hands. Thinking of this, the invisible man immediately moved his position, trying to stay away from Ron. But just moved like this. Just moved a little. Ron suddenly found his place. Then Ron's figure disappeared instantly. He was originally talking to Garp and Sengoku, and Garp and Sengoku were also about to talk to Ron, but they didn't expect Ron to disappear in front of them in an instant, which scared them both. Before the two of them could react, the person disappeared. Sengoku said in surprise, where did Ron go again? Did he find the invisible man? How'd he find him? This is too amazing. We didn't find anything. So how'd he find him? Besides, he left too quickly. How can I move so fast? Garp also said in shock. He must have discovered that invisible guy. Ron's ability is beyond our expectations. Fortunately, this guy is my friend, not my enemy. Otherwise, our Marines would have no chance of winning. I still don't understand how he found the invisible guy. Just at this moment, Ron had come to the back of a hill. The expression of the invisible guy immediately became extremely shocked. He really didn't expect that he could be discovered by the other party, even though he was inserted here. How'd he do this? His invisibility fruit should not have been discovered. He was just utterly shocked. At this time, he didn't care about hiding anymore, because he knew Ron had already discovered him and would definitely catch him next. So he had to run first. He immediately rushed towards the sea, but it was too late. Ron's hands were already around his neck. He lifted it directly into the air, making it impossible for him to continue running forward. The invisible man revealed his true form again. This time his expression became particularly shocked, and he looked at the man in front of him with an incredible look. This guy is obviously just a little kid in his teens, not even as tall as me, but he is so hardworking. How'd they do that? Are you a monster? How did you find me? The invisible man looked at Ron and asked. Ron frowned. To be honest, Roland was also very curious about this guy, because he had never seen this person in the original book, so he had to find out the purpose of this guy's appearance here. Then, Ron grabbed the person in front of him, and then his figure disappeared again at the same place. In just a blink of an eye, he was back in front of Sengoku and Garp. It was at this time that Sengoku Garp saw the person Ron was holding. I saw the two of them, said in shock. You actually caught this guy again. You're amazing, Ron. How did you do that? You really showed off to him. Sengoku and Garp were so excited because they finally caught this troublesome guy. They didn't want him to escape because he was hostile to Marine. If they couldn't figure out who this guy was as soon as possible, Marine would have to be on guard against him all the time. After all, His ability to turn invisible was a big problem for Marine. If they didn't pay attention, it would be easy for this guy to sneak into Marine, and he would eavesdrop on a lot of Marine's intelligence. If 18 was assassinating inside, no one could escape, so the key to such a troublesome guy was to catch him as soon as possible. They had just caught him, but this guy escaped. Sengoku and Garp were, of course, very anxious, because they both knew very well that only Ron could catch him, and there was no way they could catch him with their own strength. So if they don't catch it here, there will be no chance in the future. This is what Sengoku and Garp are most worried about, and it is also the main reason why the two guys had such ugly expressions just now. But now Ron has caught this guy again, which is really great news, and these two old guys finally don't have to worry anymore. So Sengoku Garp is 10% exciting. Sengoku said, "Great, I finally caught it. In that case, this guy won't be a problem for us. But this guy is really stubborn. After interrogating him for a long time, he still won't tell us who he is." Garp also said this with a frown on his face. "This damn guy, don't keep him in this room. We could just beat him to death. Stop this guy from becoming a problem for us in the future." Garp's words were quite powerful. The invisible guy was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat, because he was sure that with Kahu's character, he would definitely do such a thing. Seeing the invisible guy's face suddenly turn ugly, Garp's expression turned good again. Garp just smiled and rubbed his fists, slowly walked towards the invisible person. This guy now has no way to use his invisibility ability because he has been suppressed by Ron. Now he can't even move, let alone become invisible. Just be there like a lamb in a saddle. Garp looked at him and said, "I believe you should understand that I can definitely do it. So just tell me quickly, where did you come from? Don't say you don't know. Or if you insist on not telling me, I won't give you a second chance. You should understand that." Sengoku originally did not allow Garp to use such violence because it was against the rules in the Marines. After all, the Marines had to enforce the rules and could not just hit people so casually. But 833. From the expression of the invisible man just now, Sengoku also knew that Garp's approach had worked. So, then let him do it. Maybe something good will happen next. So violations don't matter. Sengoku just turned a blind eye. Garp slowly walked towards the invisible man, then raised his fist and began to count down, muttering something. 5, 4. Garp slowly went straight down. At the same time, strength is constantly accumulating in the fist. And at this time, the invisible man's face had turned very pale. This scared the privacy man, because he had no way to use the power of the fruit, so he had no way to withstand this punch. If this punch really hit him, he would definitely die. Thinking of this, he felt unwell both physically and mentally. What a joke! This pervert will definitely be able to do such a thing. If he really sees it, then my life will be over. I didn't expect that I could only say it immediately. Wait a minute, don't do anything. I have something to say. Are you crazy? I have something to say. Don't do anything yet. I'll tell you who I am. Haven't you always wanted to know who I am? Now I can tell you. When Garp heard this guy say this, he couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth slightly, and then spoke in a more serious tone. "I advise you not to play tricks on me. If you want me, I have a bad temper. You should know what the consequences will be, so think it over before you speak. I only give you this one chance. If you don't cherish this chance, I won't care about you anymore. Have you thought about it? If you have, then start talking." I have to admit it. Garp's threat was still very useful. After he said this, the invisible guy's hair stood on end. He understands too. The other party's threat must be fulfilled, so he didn't dare to talk nonsense anymore. He originally planned to tell the other person a lie, and then he would feel safe. But now he thought that if he lied, he might die. So he decided not to lie now. So he said lightly, "Here's what happened. I'm not lying to you, because from this point of view, I don't have any other choice. I'm talking about someone else, but if I don't say this, that person will kill me. So if you want to find someone, go find that person, and don't bother me." As soon as this sentence came out, Sengoku and Garp looked at each other, and then they were stunned. They really couldn't imagine what was going on. There's a force behind the scenes that is targeting them. This is really strange. Who is this force, and when did it exist? Why are they targeting Marine? Sengoku said without a clue. Damn it. What the hell is going on? What information do you know? You must tell us. Don't hide anything. If you hide anything, we can't eat you now. Now that you have said so much, I believe the person behind you will not let you go. You might as well tell us everything and let us get rid of this person behind you. Then you'll be safe. This is your only choice now. What you say now depends on your choice of purchase. Think about it first. After hearing this, the expression of the invisible guy became very strange, because he also understood that if he told this matter now, the person behind him would not be able to stop him. Instead of this, he might as well tell everything to the Marine and hope that the Marine could save his life. Although he was not sure whether Marine could save him, he had no choice now, so he could only sigh and continue speaking in despair. Okay, now I'll tell you everything. Hearing that this invisible man was about to confess, Sengoku and Garp looked at each other and saw excitement in each other's eyes. They had to admit that from this moment on, if this guy could really confess the organization behind him, it would undoubtedly be a very good thing for the entire Marine. In this way, they would no longer be in a situation where the enemy is in the dark and they're in the light. Maybe they can find a way to get rid of the bamboo behind him, so that the entire Marine won't have to be afraid anymore. Thinking of this, Sengoku couldn't help but smile, but he didn't let the invisible man see it. He just spoke to the invisible man indifferently. Try to tell the truth in what you say later. I don't have time to give you another chance. You should understand that if you tell a lie, I won't bother to ask you anymore. I will just kill you. Sengoku's expression became very serious as he spoke. This expression makes the Marines around him feel cold, and you feel that you have never seen the Marine Marshal show this expression. Although the Marine Marshal is usually very serious, he always gives people the feeling of being easy to get along with and looking like a spring breeze. But now it is like a cold winter, making people feel cold. Hearing Sengoku's words, Gar couldn't help but laugh. My friend, you should have shown this attitude a long time ago. This is the attitude we Marines should have. I will not dare to tell lies to anyone. If anyone dares to tell lies, I will smash his head right away. Did you hear me? I'm talking about you, kid. You better think it through. Besides, you can't run away now, and there's no need for us to keep you. You should know that if you run away, Ron can still catch you easily, so give up this idea. The only way for you to be safe and sound and save your life now is to tell us everything and beg our Marine to protect you. Otherwise, you will have no way to survive. As soon as these words came out, sure enough, the invisible man's expression became very frightened. He couldn't help but look around. He looked in the direction of Ron. This guy's strength is really too terrifying, Beach. I didn't expect that even someone as powerful as you can't escape from him. And he didn't know what kind of method he had to control his devil fruit ability, making it impossible for him to use any ability. This was really scary. It was as if he was made by sea stone. This completely gave up the idea of continuing to escape. He also understood that what the old man on the other side said was right. As long as this little devil was around, no matter what method he used, he would not be able to escape from his sight, so he might as well give up. But he didn't intend to tell the truth because he knew that if he told the truth, the organization behind it would not let him go. So he had to deceive the two old men in front of him and the little devil. In fact, the most difficult thing for him was not the two old Marines, but this little kid. He always felt that this little devil seemed to be able to see through their hearts, making it impossible for them to lie. This made him feel very tricky. If he couldn't deceive the little devil in front of him, then his goal would be difficult. So, he now had to start thinking carefully about what to say next in order to deceive everyone in front of him. It is not an easy task to deceive everyone. Even the two old men in front of you seem to be extremely shrewd. Of course, not everyone is extremely shrewd. One of the old men in front of me seems very smart, while the other seems a little stupid. The invisible man quickly analyzed the characteristics of Sengoku and Garp. He had to admit that he could tell the personalities of these two old guys from the first time he saw them. At first glance, he could tell that Sengoku was a very shrewd person, a very wise person who was not easy to fool. But Garp was different. The first time he saw him, He could tell that he was stupid and easy to fool. This is what people think when they become invisible. He saw Garp's dumbfounded look. At such an old age, he still uses his hands. Rich shit. It doesn't look very smart at first glance. So he planned to start with Garp, but now these people were standing together and he had no way to deceive them. Even if he could fool Garp and Sengoku, the kid next to him would still be a problem. So at this time, the Invisible Man was really confused. How could he deceive everyone? Seeing this guy's thoughtful expression, Sengoku was the first to be unhappy, and Sengoku was the first to speak up. Hey, what are you thinking about? You're not thinking about how to deceive us, are you? I advise you not to have such an idea, because you won't have a second chance. If you deceive us, I will kill you without hesitation. So don't think about it. You only have one life. Do you understand? Sengoku could tell what the other person was up to by looking at his eyes, so he interrupted his thoughts immediately. I have to admit it. Sengoku is a smart guy. By observing people's expressions and eyes, you can know what they are thinking. And at this time, Garp really didn't notice it at all and said with a smile, "What? Could it be that this guy wants to deceive my mother again? I really can't tell. I thought he had changed for the better. I didn't expect him to come up with such a trick. He really deserves a beating. If he deceives people again, I can't stand it. I will punch him. I have read so many books, he can't deceive me." Garp said very seriously. The Invisible Man snorted in his heart. "Please give me flowers? You're the only one who has read a lot. Who are you trying to fool? It was easy to trick you. If there weren't a few other people around, I would have tricked you so hard that your mother wouldn't even recognize you." The Invisible Man was very disdainful of Kraft's words. However, Garp noticed the expression on his face. Garp frowned. Hey. Why do you look so annoying? What were you writing just now? Are you looking down on me? How can I feel that you are looking down on me? I have to admit that although Garp looks silly on the surface, he is very familiar with this kind of contemptuous look, because most people look at him with this kind of look, especially Sengoku, who looks at him with this kind of look. As a result, Garp has a stress response to this kind of gaze. When he sees this kind of gaze from others, he feels it immediately. Being yelled at by Garp, the Invisible Man was so frightened that he almost fainted. How is that possible? How dare I look down on a great hero like you? It's absolutely impossible. You totally misunderstood. My gaze just now was one of admiration. The Invisible Man quickly explained. Garp snorted coldly and almost died of anger. Do you think I'm a fool? How dare you fool me with such words? When the Invisible Man heard Garp's expression, he was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat and said to him, "You really misunderstood. I really didn't mean anything else just now. I was just looking at you with admiration. So please don't think about anything else." Sengoku stepped forward and said at this time, "Stop talking nonsense, 800, and get down to business. Tell me what I asked you before. I can't wait any longer. I'm in a bad mood right now. So I'm telling you that you only have this last chance, so you'd better think it through. If you speak without thinking it through, don't blame me for being rude to you. Do you understand?" A sentence. The other party was instantly speechless and unable to utter another word. Just let him shut his mouth and then speak. Okay. I'll tell you everything I know, so you must remember to let me go later. If you don't let me go, you'll be breaking your promise. Do you understand? Sengoku frowned, not expecting the other party to dare to talk to him like that. He directly grabbed the other party's clothes and said to him, "I'm not in the mood to joke with you here. You'd better tell me how you feel, otherwise I will be rude to you." After Sengoku finished speaking, his expression also became extremely serious. Garp couldn't stand it anymore and stood up and said, "What on earth is going on with YY? Why have you suddenly become so bold?" Garp felt something was wrong. The Invisible Man was a little timid just now, but he became so fierce after such a short period of time. There seemed to be something wrong with him, as if he knew something to save him, otherwise it would be impossible. His entire style changed in such a short time, which made him feel a little unbelievable. The Invisible Man seemed quite nonchalant and said, To tell you the truth, you won't live much longer. The leader of our organization has already contacted me secretly. If I hold on for a little longer, you will all die here." If you don't believe me, look back and see if your ship is still there on the sea. This sentence made Sengoku and Garp feel a sense of crisis instantly. The two old men looked at each other and saw fear in each other's eyes, because they looked into the distance and found that the ships that were originally docked around the sea suddenly sank. This really made him feel a little at a loss for words. What happened? Is there someone around again? How come I didn't know what happened? How come I didn't notice it at all? Sengoku said. What's going on? Did someone come here? Why didn't I feel anything? What's going on? Who can tell me? Where are all those boats on the beach? Who is responsible for this? Come forward now. If no one comes forward, I will take the initiative to speak up. Sengoku's haki instantly filled the entire island, because there were so many warships parked around just now, and now they all disappeared, which is absolutely against common sense. Moreover, coupled with what that guy just said, Sengoku instantly felt like he was facing a great enemy. Could it be that someone really came at this time? And who was the leader of his organization? Sengoku couldn't help but frown. Being able to make so many large marine warships disappear without making any noise was definitely not something that ordinary people could do. Things are getting weirder and weirder. Sengoku and Garp originally thought that they just captured a spy who had a targeted plan against Marine. But I can't imagine it. How did things become so complicated? It seems that there is a large organization behind him, which is not something that this person can support. So the person behind him should be more powerful and control a mysterious power that the Marine and world government cannot control now. This is the most bizarre thing. If this is true, it is indeed a very troublesome matter. As for how to solve this troublesome problem, there is really no good idea at present. This gave Sengoku a headache, because from his current 18-year-old perspective, the enemy was in the dark, and he was in the light. So this was a very troublesome situation. I thought he would have more time to deal with this situation. After all, he was the first to capture one of the other parties. If he could be given enough time to interrogate him, he would be able to know the other party's layout and the other party's current level of strength. In this way, if he was given enough time, he would be able to control the situation well. Everything was going as planned. But who would have thought? The situation is now completely messed up. Before he could investigate the other party clearly, the other party had already taken the initiative to attack, and in an instant, all the Marine warships docked in the port disappeared. This was the most terrifying thing. What kind of hand could do such an operation? This made all the advantages Sengoku had just accumulated disappear in an instant. In other words, the other party is no longer under your control. Sengoku said, frowning. How many of you are there? What is your purpose? Tell me now. I don't have the time to wait for you to keep talking. If you don't tell me, I will really kill you now. The Invisible Man didn't take Sengoku's threat seriously at all, if he was still a little scared just now. After all, he didn't know what to do and could only let the other party control him. But now it's different. He has seen his organization coming to save him, and the handle that made all the warships disappear instantly was made by the boss of his organization. So he is now completely relieved and becomes arrogant again. He just laughed and said, "Ha ha ha ha. It's not so easy to control me now. Goodbye. You are finished now. You were so arrogant just now. Now you have to pay the price." He doesn't take Sengoku seriously at all. Sengoku was furious, but he had no other choice now. He couldn't really kill him. If he did, all the clues would be cut off. Garp was also very angry at this time. He came out angrily and said, "You damned fellow. I think you really want to die. Okay, then I'll grant your wish. Watch me beat you into pieces with one punch." Garp didn't have as good a mentality as Sengoku. He simply couldn't bear it, so he was ready to take action directly. He suddenly raised his fist, and countless haki gathered on his fist, making the entire surrounding space become extremely dark, like a black hole explosion. In an instant, the fist hit him hard on the head. This punch scared the guy. He really didn't expect that the other party would actually dare to touch him. I was so scared that I peed my pants on the spot. He raised his hands instantly, then knelt on the ground and said, wait a minute, spare me, wait a minute. If you kill me, my boss will not forgive you. If you want to live, you must let me go, understand?" He could only threaten blindly, but he found that after he threatened, the other party's eyes were full of anger, and his fists seemed to be faster, so he quickly took back his words and immediately said, wait a minute, I still have a lot of things to tell you, and I want to tell you all now. If you will spare my life, I will tell you everything I know. Hear him say this. Garp finally got the hand, and Sengoku couldn't help but smile, then looked at the invisible man with a very strange look and said, wouldn't it be better if we did this earlier? Now tell me where you came from, what kind of power does your mysterious boss have, and how many people do you have under your command? What is your purpose? Tell me all of this. If you don't tell me one thing, don't blame me for killing you. And I'm warning you one last time, don't think about stalling for time. I'm telling you, stalling for time won't work with me. If you are stalling for time, don't blame me for killing you directly. Don't forget that you have a criminal record. You delayed once before, which made me very unhappy. If you dare to delay again, then I will not give you a second chance. Do you understand what I said? If you understand, you should answer my first question now. What are your origins? This time, after the last experience, the invisible man didn't dare to speak slowly anymore, and he spoke very seriously. Wait a minute, and I'll tell you now. We are actually from a very mysterious organization. I don't know where this organization came from, but suddenly someone invited me to join it 3 years ago and gave me a fruit of invisibility. After he finished speaking, he looked at Sengoku pitifully. Sengoku nodded in satisfaction. After all, Sengoku was an experienced person and could tell from the other person's eyes that the other person was not lying this time, so he was still very satisfied. Questions and answers. Done. Okay, you answered this question well. Now I will answer my second question. What exactly is your purpose? After asking, Sengoku looked at the invisible man with a more fierce look. The invisible man frowned and then said, it's not that I don't want to tell you. I don't really know what our purpose is. Wait, don't do anything yet. Don't disbelieve what I say. Really, I'm a low-level minion. Of course I don't know what our purpose is. Wang Li Hao, you won't tell me such a mysterious thing. You should understand, right? I only know the purpose of my visit this time. The purpose of my visit this time is just to capture staff officer he. Then bring it to our boss. That's all. That's the purpose of my visit this time. As for the rest, I really don't know. The cellmate was really afraid that Kei would knock him out with one punch. So he spoke very quickly and very piously and kowtowed as he spoke. Garp frowned, looking at the guy kneeling on the ground in front of him. Feeling that the other party was not lying, he turned around and looked at what Sengoku said. This guy should not be lying. From what we can see now, he should have told us everything he knows. So from the perspective of purpose, he is no longer of any use. Let's just get rid of him. Of course, Sengoku immediately understood what Keiji was planning, so he smiled and nodded. Well, since this guy is useless and can't provide any useful value, then just kill him. There's no need to keep him around. As soon as these words came out, the invisible man was frightened instantly. He really didn't expect the other party to be so ruthless and actually prepare to kill him. How could this be possible? So he frowned and said, you guys don't keep your word. Didn't you just say you would let me go if I told you? Why did you change your mind now? You guys are really unreasonable. Garp laughed grimly. We said that as long as you can tell us, we'll put everything we want to know in there, but what you can tell us is too little, and this information is of no use to us, so there's no need for me to save your life. You should understand what I mean, right? Sengoku also echoed. Byac. That's right. Your value to us is too low. There is no need to keep you alive. If you can only provide this swimming pool with value, then there is no need for us to keep you. Just go and die. After all, you just committed a heinous crime. You even wanted to kidnap staff officer he. You did such an outrageous thing. Do you think you can survive by relying on such useless information? It's impossible. Hearing Sengoku say that. Moreover, the invisible man also realized that the other party had no intention of leaving him alive. Thinking of this, he immediately kowtowed more devoutly and then said, wait a minute, it's Wednesday. I still have a lot of important news to tell you. Please don't do anything. I have a lot of valuable information here. If you don't spare my life, you will have no way to get this information. You can do whatever you want. 17 foot. As soon as these words came out, even Sengoku couldn't help but frown. Thinking that this intimidation trick really worked, the other party was really scared, and the other party really had something that he didn't explain. Thinking of this, Sengoku smiled without showing his expression, and then continued. Very good. It seems that you still want to live. If so, then continue to answer my questions. You only answered one of the questions I asked just now. Now answer all the other questions again. Only in this way can I forgive you. But you have to be careful. If you dare to lie or want to deceive us, then I will not tell you a second time. 11. Hearing Sengoku's threats. This time, the personal assistant had no intention of hiding anything, because he knew that hiding was of no use at all, so he had to tell everything. He just nodded and said very seriously, "Okay, now I'm serious about everything I say, but you have to promise me that when I tell you everything, you'll let me live. Do you understand?" The Invisible Man knew that he had the bargaining chip with the other party, so he was no longer timid at this time. Instead, he straightened his chest and said as a matter of course. I have to say that he said it like a man, which stunned the two old guys, Sengoku and Garp. They were a little confused, and then smiled and said, "This guy actually negotiated with us openly, but this is also interesting. If he can tell us what we want to know, then he is a real character, so it's good to keep him." Hearing Sengoku say this, Kazuo nodded and said with a smile, "Of course, but this guy seems a little dishonest. If we just indulge him blindly, it won't be a good thing. Let's see what he says next. If he doesn't treat us as his own and is hiding something from us, then there's no need for us to keep him around." Sengoku Garp's conversation with each other was not without purpose. The two guys actually wanted to warn the Invisible Man, so they spoke to him. The attendant also sighed at this time and then said, "Don't worry, since I have decided to confess. It means that there is no way for me to get along with him anymore, which means that I may be hunted down by the boss of the opposing organization next. So, if you have anything to ask, just ask quickly. After that, you must protect my safety. If you can't protect my safety, I guess no one will be willing to provide you with information in the future." Sengoku nodded and said, "Okay, you have guts. If that's the case, I won't waste any more time. I'm going to start asking questions now. Listen carefully. How many people are there in your organization? What kind of people are they?" After hearing this question, the Invisible Man thought about it and then said, "I don't know the exact number, but I know there are about 200 people. All of them are demon fruit power. And our fruit abilities were just given to us by the city's organization boss, which means we didn't have any abilities before. But suddenly one day, someone came to us and asked us if we wanted to join an organization, and then gave us a devil fruit to eat. That's how I joined the organization. In fact, I'm not a prominent figure in this organization, so I can't access a lot of information. Request flowers? That's why I don't understand many issues now. FFLX. There are very few things I can access." Sengoku nodded, satisfied with his answer, and continued asking, "So who is this so-called organizer of yours? What kind of abilities does he have? Why is he targeting Marine? What is his purpose?" This is also what Sengoku is most concerned about, because having such a scary guy staring at Marine all the time is not a good thing for him. He must find out what is going on. When the Invisible Man heard this question, he thought about it for a longer time than usual, because he was not sure whether his answer was correct. To set it lightly, regarding this question, I actually have no way to give you an accurate answer. Although I am a member of this organization, I have never met the leader of this organization. I have no idea what his purpose is, so I can't give you an accurate answer. People. Sengoku and Garp also found out from each other's eyes that the other party was not lying. It is estimated that what the other party knew was limited to this, which is understandable. After all, the other party is just a small figure in the organization. It is impossible for him to know the big secrets of the organization, and it is even more impossible for him to have met the leaders of the organization. So, what he said is very likely to be true. And at this time, Sengoku asked again, "Well, since you don't know this, 460, then you should be clear about the purpose of your trip. You said that you wanted to capture Chief of Staff Chong, but where will he be transported to, and what will be done with him after he is captured? You should know all this, right? If you don't even know this, then I have reason to believe that you are not telling me the truth." Sengoku's words were particularly majestic. The other party was so scared that he spoke quickly. "I know this. He asked me to capture Staff Officer and find a way to transport him to a small island. When I heard this, I couldn't help but frown and asked, "Which island do you think this is?" Sengoku was also puzzled, but he also found a clue. Maybe this island is where their boss is, so he must find out where this island is. If he can let the other party know this, then he can send Marine to investigate. Then everything may be solved, all the mysteries will be solved, so he must know where this island is now. Only in this way can he continue the investigation, which would be said to be the most useful question he has asked from the beginning to now. I heard Sengoku ask this. The cell body man was silent for a while, then took out a permanent pointer. Then he threw it at Sengoku. Sengoku, of course, understood what the pointer meant, so he took it and looked at it. Sure enough, the pointer was pointing in a direction. If he guessed correctly, this permanent pointer should be able to reach the mysterious island. The attendant said so. This permanent pointer is the destination of this mission. As long as I hold this pointer, I can find this island. In fact, I have never been to this island before. It just asked me to capture the staff officer and bring him to this island. This is all I know. Garp came over, looked at the permanent pointer in front of him, and asked, "You mean you haven't been to that island before? Then why would he give you such an important task?" This is a little unlikely. The invisible man was startled, then waved his hands repeatedly. "I'm telling the truth. That's all I know. I really don't know anything else. So please let me go. I really don't know anything. This is the order I received. This is the mission I received. I have told you all about it." Sengoku said, coughing twice. "Very good. Then let me ask you another question. 11 foot. Do you know what the other people are doing? It's impossible that 3.0 only wants you to capture Staff Officer So what about the others? Are there other people carrying out other tasks? It's impossible that you don't know about even one of your colleagues." After asking this question, the invisible man was silent for a moment, and then he spoke. "That's right. There are a total of 10 people going out to carry out the mission. I only know these 10 people. As for what kind of mission they're carrying out, I don't really know. Anyway, I asked the question that Sengoku wanted to ask. Sengoku couldn't help but reveal a look of joy, and then he spoke to the invisible man calmly. "You should know where the 10 people are, where they went, and what missions they carried out. Even if you don't know their specific missions, you should know their directions. Since you know there are 10 people, you should know where they went roughly. So tell me all of this quickly." The invisible man then realized that he had accidentally revealed all these secrets, but now he had no choice. Since he had already told them out, he might as well tell 18 everything. In fact, he only knew a limited amount of information, and he wanted to use this limited information to buy his own chance of survival. So of course he didn't dare to act rashly at this time. So he could only sigh, and then spoke to Sengoku very seriously. "I do know the whereabouts of those 10 people, but I don't know what their missions were. Now let me tell you where these 10 people went. Some of them went to the Marine headquarters, some went to Ini's lobby, and some went to Mariehua. Another one went to the underwater prison. This is the whereabouts of all of them now. I and another person are responsible for tracking the movements of the Marine force. This is why I came here with the force. When I came here, I had just received the mission to capture and advise. Before that, our mission was just to follow your Marine force. There was no other mission." The invisible man told everything in one breath. Sengoku couldn't help but gasp when he heard this. He didn't expect that these guys were really targeting the Marine and the world government, because all the people they sent out were related to the Marine. This shocked Sengoku. It seems that these guys are targeting Marine. This forced him to take responsibility and deal with it. If he didn't deal with it seriously, the consequences would be disastrous. So he took a deep breath and then spoke. "Okay, then what are their abilities? You should know about them. Although you don't know what kind of missions they perform, you should know what kind of devil fruit abilities they have, right?" Sengoku tried his best to get more information out of this person, just in case. After all, it has been confirmed that these guys are targeting Marine, so he must take it seriously and know both himself and the enemy. Otherwise, it would be easy to suffer if the enemy is in the dark and he is in the light. The invisible man frowned and then spoke. "Actually, I don't know all of their abilities. I only know the abilities of a few of them because I've only interacted with them before. So I know their abilities. As for the others, I only know their whereabouts. I've never even seen some of them or talked to them, so I can't guarantee what the others' abilities are. Sengoku nodded and said, No problem. You just need to tell us what you know, and don't mention anything else you're not sure about. Sengoku wasn't actually surprised. After all, for people at their level, it was impossible to know everyone's abilities, but knowing one or two would be very useful. As a Marine Marshal, Sanguine knew better than anyone how important enemy intelligence was. So Sengoku was very satisfied with this news. He coughed twice, and then spoke very seriously to the invisible man in front of him. Very good. Tell us all the clues you know, no matter how many people's whereabouts you know, or how many people's abilities you know. You must tell us everything now. If you don't, then the consequences should be clear. Now you are completely on our ship, which means that you and our Marine are now in the same boat. If you are released now, they will not forgive you. That is to say, the only way for you to be safe now is to stay in the Marine and let us protect you. You should understand, in exchange for this protection, what should you pay? As soon as this sentence was finished, the other party was speechless, because at this time, the invisible man also knew that he had no way out. The only thing he could do now was to explain everything clearly. If he didn't explain it clearly, the consequences would be really unimaginable. So in order to avoid being so miserable, he had to explain everything clearly. So, he said seriously, I know there are 3 people with abilities, and I've told you roughly where they went, but where did these 3 people go? I'm not really sure. I only know the general direction these 10 people went, but I don't know the specific direction of these 3. I nodded and said without comment, Okay, you just need to tell us what you know about these people's abilities, and don't say anything else. I understand. The invisible man then sighed and said lightly, One of them has the ability to grow bigger and smaller. This person's ability is extremely exaggerated. He can instantly transform from an ordinary person into a guy bigger than a giant, and both his strength and physical strength will increase accordingly. This is really terrifying. It is said that he can smash a mountain with 1 punch and even carry 10 warships. I don't know where this guy went, but he is extremely scary. And he has an extremely violent personality, which is nothing like me. I'm not a combat talent. I can't fight at all, but he is different. He has received rigorous combat training since he was a child, and he has eaten such a powerful devil fruit. So his strength is also very strong. The invisible man described it in great detail, almost revealing all of this person's personality, abilities, and characteristics. There was nothing he could do about it. This was the only thing he could do now. He was very satisfied with the results and nodded, approving of the details, abilities, and personality traits he described, because the more detailed the understanding of the enemy, the better able to deal with the enemy. And the clues he gave were very useful. Okay, this is good news. Keep going. Tell us any other news you have. The invisible man scratched his head and then said, There's another person whose ability is even more exaggerated than Hao Zhao. His ability is fire. He can spit fire everywhere. This guy was trained specifically to deal with your Marine Admiral. Although Akainu's lava fruit is very powerful, his fire can absorb all fire. In other words, no matter how much magma is sprayed out, he can absorb it all and then spit it out. When he said this, Sengoku couldn't help but hesitate. It seemed that the other party was really targeting Marine. Sengoku couldn't help but frown. From what they said just now, it could be seen that these guys are preparing to target Marine because their abilities are very targeted at Marine, and they should have studied Marine thoroughly and know the strengths and weaknesses of each character, so they can carry out targeted training based on them. It must be said that Sengoku felt a sense of crisis at this time. If there's really such a strength increase, then the impact on Marine in the future is not small. But fortunately, it has not reached the most troublesome point in advance, because at least at this stage, they already know the other party's purpose, so if they want to get rid of the other party, they can still do it. So, 860 Sengoku was increasingly thankful that they knew about the existence of such an organization at such an early stage, so that they would not be caught off guard in the future. Thinking of this, Sengoku felt that he was very lucky to be here today. If he had not come here today, he would not know that there was a bamboo group secretly targeting Marine. In this case, if they attacked Marine in the future, Marine would have no way to deal with it. Think of this. Sengoku understood even more clearly what this prisoner in front of him meant to him. Only his existence could enable him to uncover the mystery of this secret organization. At this time, Sengoku took a deep breath and said, "Very good. You have mentioned the abilities of 2 people so far. Didn't you say you knew the abilities of 3 or 4 people? Then what are the abilities of the others? Tell me everything you know." Sengoku became more and more satisfied with the man in front of him, because at least he solved many of his doubts. Garp also understood what Sengoku meant at this time, and he echoed the words from the side. The abilities of these 2 guys are very targeted at us. It seems that the abilities of others should also be targeted at us. However, there is one thing that is very strange. Where did this guy find so many strange transformation patterns that he can target us? Hear this sentence, Bib. The invisible man couldn't help but frown. Actually, I don't know where the devil fruit came from. It's just that when we were first added here, we were given the devil fruit to eat, so we were able to gain abilities, but we don't know where the devil fruit came from. Sengoku nodded. He had no doubt about this, because according to normal thinking, it would be difficult for such an inconspicuous person to access such core secrets. Obviously, the source of the devil fruit was the core secret of the other party, so it would definitely not be accessible to ordinary people. Therefore, it was believable that the invisible man in front of him said that he did not know the origin of the devil fruit. Okay, let's not talk about the origin of the devil fruit now. Go on. Do you know what the abilities of other people's fruits are? The invisible man heard this and got the topic back on track and said, I also know the devil fruit abilities of the 2 people. Their fruit abilities are indeed targeted at your Marines, as you said. I actually hadn't thought of this before, but after you said this, I found that it is indeed the case. 11 foot. The invisible man didn't intend to hide it anymore and told everyone about the other people who had the ability fruit that he had guided. After meeting the invisible man and preparing to tell him everything, I couldn't help but feel very happy, because he also knew that the source of the information he mentioned could only rely on this colorful man. This was his only chance to unveil the mysterious organization and the only breakthrough. So he must seize this opportunity and not miss any way to get their information. And Sengoku also knew one thing. That is it. Maybe this private person in front of you knows a lot of things, but he has no way to integrate this information into useful information. Therefore, he needs to be constantly guided to ask questions so that he can ask some useful information that can be used by himself. Sengoku looked at the invisible man and spoke slowly. Okay, tell us everything you know. The elementary school you just mentioned is very useful to us. You have done us a great service. We will protect your safety. We now consider you as one of our own. So you should understand that if our Marine is defeated, you'll also die. So you must stand firmly on the side of our Marine and think about how to deal with that person. Only in this way can we all prosper together. Hearing Sengoku talking about invisibility, the man couldn't help but nodded because he felt that what the other party said made sense. He now had no way out. He had just revealed a lot of very important information within the organization, which meant that their boss should already know that he had leaked the secrets. He wouldn't be able to survive even if he escaped now. So now it would be better for him to completely join Marine, seek Marine's help, and then help Marine defeat this mysterious organization. In this way, he would be able to gain true freedom. He himself didn't have much traffic with this organization. This organization took his gun first and then let him maintain his own affairs. So he now also wanted to leave this organization, and now was his only chance. So the invisible man also cherishes this opportunity very much. Don't worry, I will tell you everything I know. Whereas I just now? Oh, I mentioned the skills of the other people. One of them has a very terrifying skill, which is clairvoyance and super hearing. I know you may have seen the fruit of clairvoyance, which allows one to see the world from the perspective of other animals. But this fruit is even more terrifying. Not only does he have clairvoyance, he also has super hearing, which means he can not only see far away, but also hear sound from far away. This is quite terrifying. Maybe our conversation is being monitored by him. This is why I was reluctant to reveal the news at the beginning. I was afraid of this. Maybe every time I reveal the news, the other party will monitor it. Please give me flowers. The invisible man spoke very seriously, and he was not as reserved as before because he had figured it out. The other party had a sharp ear, so no matter how soft his voice was, he would be able to hear it. So speaking in a low voice would have no effect at all. It was completely useless to whisper in front of sharp ear. When I heard this, I couldn't help but gasp. This is really terrifying. The combination of the clairvoyance and the superb hearing is simply a perfect way to find out the enemy's military intelligence. At this time, Sengoku also resolved some doubts. He finally understood why the other party was able to grasp every move of their marine. If they really have clairvoyance and super hearing, then they can easily detect Marines' every move from thousands of miles away. In that case, all of Marines' actions and strategies are exposed under the enemy's nose, which is really terrible. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but take a breath. He is not sure when the other party started to reveal Marine secrets and how much of Marine's fate they know. If 547 said that all the secrets of Marine were known by the other party, then now their Marine is just like standing naked in front of the other party with bare chest. This is horrible. Marine has no secrets anymore. At the same time, he also understood why the invisible man was so stubborn and unwilling to reveal any information at the beginning. It turned out that there was a smart ear eavesdropping on him. If the information was revealed, it would be discovered immediately. Sengoku frowned. Since he can hear it, I won't hide it from him. The guy hiding in the dark, why are you targeting Marine? If you want to compete with us, then just fight with real weapons. I'm waiting for you to come out here and see what you can do to us. What kind of hero are you hiding in the dark before fighting openly and honestly? Sengoku knew it well. The other party must have heard him talking somewhere, so what he said now should be able to reach the other party's ears. Then, Sengoku said as he looked at the invisible man again, "Okay, now we have officially declared war on them, so you don't have to be afraid anymore. Tell me everything. Who is this clairvoyant and clairaudient?" The invisible man paused, then spoke. This guy's origin is also very mysterious. In a way, this guy is the same as all of us. At first, he was just an ordinary person, but later he was captured by the mysterious boss, and then he was forced to eat a special fruit. This fruit is different from the shrimp we eat. The fruit we have left only has one form, but the fruit he eats will give him two abilities. That guy has been staying in the organization's boss group ever since he acquired this ability. I haven't seen him since then, but I know he must be the person the boss trusts the most. From then on, if any of us were dissatisfied with the boss, he would know it in an instant. That's why I suspected that this guy with clairvoyance and super hearing was right next to the boss, monitoring us for him. I'm sure he can hear what I'm saying now. When the invisible man thought of this, he let go. Sengoku nodded. He now felt that things were becoming a little tricky. I don't know what to do. If that's really the case, then almost all of the Marines' actions in the future will be exposed under the opponent's eyes. So if you want to discuss a complete decision to deal with the opponent, it is basically impossible to hide it from him. Sengoku couldn't help but frown. This ability is truly terrifying. It's like a 4.8 troop of tens of thousands. No wonder the other party dared to confront Marine. It turned out that there was such a strong man as a support. And at the same time, Sengoku turned his gaze to the invisible man again and said calmly, "Besides his, do you know other people's abilities? If you do, tell them all. Anyway, you have been discovered by the other party now. There is no need to hide it anymore. After all, he has been detected by clairvoyance and tailwind now. So there's no point in hiding anything now." The invisible man has also realized that he must have been exposed, which means that the master must know that he has changed. So it is better to betray to the end so that he can still get the protection of Marine. Sengoku's mood is also different now because he had always wanted to investigate secretly before, but now he understands that the other party has tailwind ear and clairvoyance, so he can't investigate secretly. Everything must be in the open, which means that no matter what Marine does now, the other party will know it clearly. If that's the case, then there's no need for him to hide it anymore. This did increase the difficulty for 18 Sengoku a lot, because from the perspective of purpose, no matter what they did, the other party would know it, and they were in a situation where they were in the light and the enemy was in the dark, so the Marine actually had little chance of winning. But at this time, they had a different idea, because their current Marine was different from the previous Marine, and they did not know Ron before. Therefore, if it were a Marine in the past, there would probably be no way to deal with such a full-time and omnipotent organization lurking in the dark. But it's different now. Sengoku and the others already know Luwen. In this case, everything might be different. After all, Ron is too strong. So, if Ron is willing to help Marine, then it would be easy to get through this crisis. It's impossible in this case. Sengoku regained his confidence and was ready to have a head-on confrontation with his opponent. Let's see who wins and who loses. In that case. So now we must know all the information that everyone can know. Sengoku continued. Besides this person with the ability of clairvoyance and clairaudience, are there any other people with special abilities? Hearing Sengoku say that, the invisible man, who had already figured it out, couldn't help but continue speaking. Actually, I'm not sure how to tell you now. I also know of a person who has the ability to join the meeting, but his ability is really hard to describe. I don't know what the specific ability is, but I know what it looks like when it manifests itself. Have you ever seen someone who is invulnerable to weapons? Yes, I remember now. Your Marine has an ability called Iron Body, right? It's a similar ability to this, but he can maintain the Iron Body state at any time. And his Iron Body is different from yours. His is truly invulnerable to weapons and swords. No matter what you use, it won't work. Even weapons made of sea dragon stone won't work. I did not quite understand this. Logically, 400 is the most afraid of sea stone, but he is different. With his ability, even conch stone weapons cannot attack him. Even hockey cannot attack him. He is truly invulnerable. The invisible man spoke very cautiously, because this was indeed beyond his knowledge. Even though his strength was not strong, he knew an ironclad truth that demon fruit power was afraid of sea stone and armament hockey. But that guy really broke this common sense. He was truly invulnerable to swords and guns. So this guy is an extremely tricky existence, because no one could break his defense. Sengoku couldn't help but gasp when he heard this. If this was true, then how to deal with this opponent would be a real headache. From the current perspective, their Marines had no way of dealing with an invulnerable person, because according to what the invisible man said just now, this guy's ability seemed to be a super enhanced version of Iron Body and hockey, and any conch stone weapons had no way of breaking through his defense. This is too exaggerated. Sengoku couldn't figure out how to deal with this guy now. He could only put all his hopes on Ron, because if Marine couldn't do something, or if he himself couldn't do something, then Ron could definitely do it. There is no basis for this, though. But that's what Sengoku thought. After all, his trust in Ron was beyond common sense. He believed that Ron must be hiding a secret that others didn't know. Only this guy could deal with such a tricky organization. Anyway, with Marine's current method, he couldn't deal with this guy at all. It wasn't just Sengoku who felt stunned and shocked to hear that this guy was invulnerable. Even Garp, who was known as the strongest fighter in the Marine, had a confused expression when he heard the news, because he couldn't believe it either. There is actually someone in this world with such a strong defense. He had seen countless people who claimed to be invulnerable, countless people who claimed to have the strongest defense, but they were ultimately unable to withstand his iron fist. Because under his iron fist, he did not believe that such an invincible person existed. But now that this guy with such a good appearance had mentioned such a person so early, Garp was indeed very curious. He also wanted to meet this person to see if this guy's defense was really that invincible. After all, Garp is very confident now, because he has learned a lot of abilities from Ron, so he is much stronger than before, and now he can be regarded as a real one-punch Garp. After all, many times, Garp's combat capability is the benchmark for Marine. What's more, Garp has been strengthened now. So he was very curious now. Could the guy who claimed to be invulnerable to swords and guns block his punch? And at the same time, he is also thinking about countermeasures. If I were to face this invulnerable person, how would I handle it? If he can really withstand my fist, or if my fist really doesn't do any harm to him, then it will be difficult. How should I deal with this situation? After all, the other party also said that even weapons and hockey could not break his defense, which was exaggerated. After all, for Garp, the most powerful thing was his hockey ability. So, can he really solve this problem? This is indeed a question worth thinking about. But now he doesn't have the energy to think so much. The most important thing now is to collect all the information. And it's very nice. Garp also realized a problem. Because the Invisible Man said before that the good ability users created by that organization are all targeting the Marines, which means that each ability user is targeting different Marine combat forces. The person who could spit fire and extinguish flames before, that corresponds to a Kainu. Then the invulnerable person mentioned just now must be targeting me. After all, I have the strongest attack. Then we must create a person who is invulnerable to swords and guns. It seems. The other party was also eyeing him, which made Garp excited. FO. Sengoku took a deep breath at this point, patted Garp on the shoulder. Of course, he could sense what Kaku was thinking, and he also realized that this invulnerable guy was designed to target Garp. That is to say, this organization really has planned to deal with Marine. Each person with special abilities corresponds to a big shot in Marine, so that they can play a perfect counteracting role in battle. It has to be said that these guys are really well prepared. Garp said, "It seems like these guys are almost ready. I feel like they will attack our Marine in the near future. This is really not good news. It seems like we have to prepare well. Otherwise, we really won't be able to deal with this incident." Sengoku said, nodding. "There's nothing we can do about it. Fortunately, we discovered it in time. If we had discovered it later, we would have been caught off guard, which would have been the worst. Now at least we know their plan in advance, so we won't be at a loss when the time comes." In fact, Sengoku was still quite grateful. He felt that he was very lucky. Fortunately, he came here today, bid, and saw through their tracks, otherwise he would still be kept in the dark. I really don't dare to imagine what will happen then. Garp nodded. Alas, the only annoying thing now is that the other party can know what we say or do, which is really a very troublesome thing. Anyway, everything he did would be monitored by the other party's sharp ears and eyes, so there was no need for Garp to speak in a low voice. Because he also knew that even if he spoke this time, it might be confirmed by the other party. Sengoku nodded as well. Compared to these combat roles, I think this clairvoyant is the most difficult one. With this guy around, it will be difficult for us to formulate a complete plan to deal with them. Sengoku is the resourceful general after all, and he knows what poses the greatest threat to him. Don't be fooled by those fancy ability users. Each of them has very strong fighting ability, but this is not the most terrifying thing. No matter how strong a fighter is, they all have weaknesses. As long as you find their weaknesses, you could defeat them. This is what they lack, because in order to win in a battle, in addition to personal strength, another aspect is experience. All the Marines present are experienced in hundreds of battles, especially those Marine Admirals or Garps. Their experience is something that others cannot learn. But the same cannot be said for those people in that mysterious organization. After all, they have no chance to come forward or show up, and they have been hiding themselves all the time. In this way, they have no time to develop strong strength. This means that their experience is definitely not as good as Garp and the others. In this case, as long as they are given enough time in the battle, they will be able to find the opponent's flaws. And at this time, the Invisible Man also began to speak. After all, Sengoku had just asked him a question. He also planned to tell all the information he would know next. But this time, he saw Sengoku and Kaku, two old guys, sighing to each other. So they were not interrupted for the moment. Instead, it was a long time before he spoke lightly. In fact, I know another person's ability, but this guy's ability is a little different. I know that the abilities of the people I just mentioned are all terrible, but this person's ability is not terrible at all. After hearing what the Invisible Man said, Sengoku and Garp also became curious. They also wanted to know what this guy's abilities were. After all, the several people with special abilities introduced before really opened their eyes. Even though they had lived for such a long time, they had never seen such strange and bizarre people with abilities. To be honest, these people's abilities were really weird. The abilities of these devil fruits are totally different from those of ordinary devil fruits. According to the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia, there are no such devil fruits as they mentioned. So where do these guys get their abilities from? It remains a mystery. This is also the main reason why Sengoku and Garp are so curious about these abilities, because these abilities are beyond their cognition, and they also want to see them. Another reason is that only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you win every battle. If you know the opponent's abilities well enough, then in the next battle or in the next deployment of troops, then you can deal with it calmly. So, the most important thing now is to understand everything they have. Only in this way can you defeat the opponent perfectly. Sengoku couldn't help but take a deep breath at this time. He also wanted to hear what that strange ability the other party was talking about was. Okay, go on. What exactly is that house rule ability? In fact, Sengoku has been thinking about a question in his mind. Can I really be the opponent's opponent? If we are no match for the other party, then we can only ask Ron, but the problem is very serious. After all, Ron is not a Marine now and has nothing much to do with their Marine, and I have helped them once before. Logically speaking, Marine is in debt to Rune now, so if Rune were to step in, it wouldn't work anyway. After all, Ling Un is not one of the 10 members of Marine, so how can they get Ron to help them this time? This is indeed a problem. So, how to solve this problem? Sengoku, this is the question that's on his mind right now. He really wants to ask Ron to come out now, but he couldn't open his mouth. To be honest, it was too embarrassing. After all, he was a Marine Marshal and commanded so many Marine soldiers. He didn't expect to encounter some troubles and could only ask Ron, a child, for help. Please give me flour. This is to tell the truth. For him, a Marine Marshal, it was a little embarrassing, but there was no other way now because the abilities of these guys were too targeted at the Marine. To be honest, if they really fought face to face, then the Marine might not have a very high chance of winning. 0. Looking at the people I know now, only Ron has this ability. So, he really hoped that Ron could come out and help him solve this problem. Sengoku thought about it carefully and looked in the direction of Lu Wan. He found that Ron was still grilling meat there leisurely, as if he never took what happened here to heart. This made Sengoku sigh again. How can we convince Ron to get involved in this matter? Because the more he understood this organization and the capabilities of those people, the more Sengoku was certain of the great crisis Marine was facing. So, the most urgent task is to find a way to convince Ron. Sengoku made up his mind. But I have made up my mind. Sengoku stopped having these random thoughts. The most important thing now was to quickly figure out what kind of abilities the other party had so that he could think of a way to deal with them. But now he also understood that the most difficult thing was that guy with super hearing and supervision. That guy would be able to hear his every move, and he would know everything that happened here. So, it would be best for him to find a way to block out the sound here so that it doesn't spread out. After all, it is impossible for 733 to have everything under the enemy's nose. If that were the case, then the Marine would be finished. When I think of this, suddenly I thought of someone. This person's ability happens to make the surrounding forest disappear. That was his dearest Razanani. When I think of this, Sengoku was very happy. After all, if that guy has the ability, I can certainly talk in secret, so that no information will be leaked. Sengoku's expression couldn't help but become one of confidence. After all, he knew it very well. If the other party does not have the ability of clairvoyance and clairaudience, then they will not be able to find out the news about the Marine and will not know the arrangements on our side. In this way, we will have the confidence to win. This is also Sengoku's confidence in himself. So, he now has to cut off the other party's hearing so that his voice cannot be heard. This is also the most important thing, although it is difficult. But there is no other way now. The most important thing now is not to let the other party know that I am looking for this Razanani. Think of this. Sengoku couldn't help but gasp. He couldn't let the other party know now that he was looking for someone who could block the other party's voice. So, he gave Garp a subtle look. Garp also doesn't understand what Sengoku means. After all, he didn't even know Razanani. So, you can't blame him for this. This really D off Sengoku, seeing Garp's silly look. I couldn't help but say, "You idiot, don't you understand what the colors I gave you mean? Is it stupid? I'm so P asterisk 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 D off." Garp said innocently, Hey, who knows what you're talking about, old man? Just say whatever you want to say." Sengoku was really speechless at this time. 012903318 Philo 110491011. Have you forgotten that the other party has the ability of Shunfinger? With him around, everything we say will be known. The other party's ability is to hear all sounds. Do you understand? Hear all sounds. Sengoku keeps hinting at Garp. He repeatedly emphasized that the other party could hear the sound, just to let Garp find the person who could block the sound. Garp didn't understand what the other party meant at first, and said with a confused look on his face, "Yeah, the other party can already hear the sound anyway, so why are you afraid? Just say it out loud. Will it be helpful to speak softly?" Sengoku was so angry that he almost fainted. I saw him saying this with his beard puffed and his eyes glared. "Don't you understand what I mean? I said they can hear any sound. As long as there is sound, it can be heard." Garp was even more confused. It dawned on him. Yes, since the other party can hear the sound, they just need to block the sound. Isn't this the best way to deal with the clairvoyant? He thought of Sengoku, someone he had once mentioned to him unintentionally. It is said that the guy has the ability to block out sound. He didn't know what Sengoku meant, and of course he didn't want to waste time here. After all, he had to find the person who could block the sound, so he had to leave here quietly because the other party had clairvoyance and super hearing. The super hearing could hear everything here, so as long as he found the person who could block the sound, he could make arrangements quietly and not let them feel his conversation here, so that the next arrangements would not be known to them. Although there is really no way to prevent clairvoyance, it can actually be solved. After all, if you use clairvoyance, you just have to hide in a room without windows, then they won't be able to see you. So this is an easy arrangement, but the key is that the wind-earing ear is very troublesome. Garp nodded imperceptibly to Sengoku. Now is the time to prepare. He understands too. What is Sengoku thinking about right now? So he must leave here quietly now. It would be best not to let the enemy detect their current actions. If the enemy finds the person who can block the sound first, then everything will be in trouble. Garp thought about this, then exit without leaving a trace. Quietly left the island. Then he found a place where no one could see him and secretly changed his clothes. Then he stomped his feet hard and disappeared directly on the island. Bang, bang, bang. The speed is simply unbelievable. Almost within a few steps, it has disappeared below the sea level. At the same time, Sengoku couldn't help but feel a chill at the west exit. He could only try his best to delay time now, hoping that Garp would find the guy who could make a sound as soon as possible. Their next conversation would be completely confidential. There is nothing we can do about this. That has to be done. So he gestured to the invisible man in front of him and said, "Okay, let's talk about the next thing later." The invisible man looked confused, because it was Sengoku who kept urging him. Why didn't he say anything now? He was about to speak a lot, but the other party suddenly stopped him, which made him very depressed, but he didn't dare to say anything. After all, the other party was the Marine Marshal. What if he was unhappy and just chopped him down? When I think of this, the invisible man immediately shut his mouth. Since no one allowed him to speak, he decided not to say anything. At the same time, he was also feeling uneasy, and he also understood what the other party was thinking at this time. My organization now knows about my betrayal, so they will definitely not let me go. What to do next? It is really a headache now, but there is no way. What else can be done? There is no other way except 807. Think of this. He couldn't help but shut his mouth. And at the same time, he looked in Ron's direction. This is the man who caught himself. To be honest, although this guy is very young, he is extremely powerful. He knew how terrible his invisibility fruit was. Even observation hockey couldn't find him after he became invisible. But how did the other party get involved with him? He had been busy reporting intelligence to the Marine Marshal before, so he had no time to think about this problem. Now that he had some free time, he felt the terrifying nature of this man. At this time, Ron was grilling there. Seeing the invisible man looking at him, He couldn't help but turn his gaze to look at him. Ron actually heard the conversation between the group of people just now. To be honest, he had never noticed such an amazing host when he watched anime before. But this is understandable. After all, the timeline of the anime Ron watches usually starts from when Luffy went to sea, but now it is still more than 20 years since Luffy's departure. Generally, this timeline has never been played in anime, so it is understandable that he is not familiar with the plot here. He is also quite curious. I want to take a look too. Who is this mysterious organization? What plans do they have? Why did such a large and powerful organization disappear into silence in the future? This was indeed a very strange thing, which aroused Ron's interest. After all, Ron had no other interests when he came to this world. It was only at that moment every day that he became interested in this mysterious organization. So, when the Invisible Man turned to look at him, Ron waved at him and spoke to him. "The invisible guy over there. Come over here, I have something to ask you." After all, he was still a long distance away from Ron, and Ron was too lazy to walk over, so it would be better to let him come over directly. When the Invisible Man heard this, he was startled. After all, the sense of oppression that Ron brought to him was too strong. He didn't know what to say for a moment. To be honest, he didn't dare to go there. Because the opponent is so strong, if I go over there and make him unhappy, he can just raise his hand and kill me. So he didn't really want to go there. He could only look at Garp and Sengoku, looking at them for help, hoping that they could protect him. Garp was very happy at this time, because he had been planning to let Ron join in this matter, but now it seems that Ron seems to be very interested in this matter. Wouldn't this be more perfect? When I think of this, he was even happier. So it is even more impossible to stop the Invisible Man from passing. Instead, he was speaking to the Invisible Man. If he tells you to go over, just go over there. Why are you still standing here? Go over there quickly. Answer whatever he asks you. Just treat him like you're seeing me. Do you hear me? Sengoku, of course, knew whether the Invisible Man or Ron was more important, so he would certainly ignore the Invisible Man's request for protection. And at this time, the Invisible Man was speechless. This old Sengoku, this old Marine, is so shameless. He clearly said before that he would protect himself. Give yourself over now. But he didn't dare to say anything, as he couldn't afford to offend people on both sides. So he could only walk slowly towards Ron with a speechless face. At the same time, he felt extremely uneasy. After all, I was caught by this man. This seemingly short journey actually took a very long time. Finally came to Ron. Being so close and taking a closer look at Ron, he discovered that this guy was actually a minor. This is too exaggerated. How come he has such terrifying strength at such a young age? Ron looked at the Invisible Man in front of him and said, "Duh, you guy. That's interesting. Go ahead. Where did it come from?" At this time, Ron grew serious, because he also wanted to know the other party's origins and whether the existence of such an organization was good or bad for him. In fact, he had no way to judge until now, but he did not want such a mysterious organization to exist in the dark, and he did not want something that he could not control to keep staring at him all the time. Ron didn't like this feeling. Ron hopes that everything is under his control so that he can live peacefully in this world. He doesn't want to live in danger all the time. So, this time, Ron asked the Invisible Man a question very seriously. He hoped that the other party could give him a satisfactory answer. After hearing this, the Invisible Man's expression froze. Then he smiled awkwardly and said with some fear, "The question that this big brother asked me just now has already been asked by the Marine Marshal, and I have already answered it once. I have already answered everything I know, so there's nothing else I can answer now. What else do you want to know?" The Invisible Man was also very helpless. He had just said everything, so why did he have to ask himself again? Should I repeat what I just said? It's a long paragraph. Will I be exhausted if I repeat it again? At this time, Sengoku was also secretly looking at Ron. Although he didn't look over here openly, his ears were perked up, because he really wanted to know, what exactly can Ron ask, or what kind of questions can Ron ask, because he always thinks that Ron is a very powerful guy. This guy can always find some points that normal people can't imagine. So, to put it bluntly, Sengoku also wanted to find out something from Ron at this time. After all, Ron's origin is also very mysterious. Even Sengoku began to doubt whether Ron was one of them, and whether Ron was also from that mysterious organization. After all, Marine didn't know about this particularly mysterious organization, and Marine didn't know Ron's origin either. If we associate it from a certain angle, then are they from the same origin? When he thought of this, Sengoku couldn't help but take a breath. To be honest, this idea was too shocking. I can't imagine it. It's too hard to imagine, if that's really the case. So, is a Marine going to be finished? Sengoku couldn't help but think to himself at this time. He really didn't want this to be the outcome, because he hadn't figured out how to deal with this mysterious organization. If Ron was also one of them, then they had no chance of winning. Sengoku even planned to use Ron to help him eliminate this mysterious group of people. If Ron is also a member of this organization, then what's the point? Sengoku's heartbeat became extremely fast. He really didn't want this to happen, so he pricked up his ears to listen to what Ron and that guy were communicating. This is also a very important thing, because it can determine whether Ron has any connection with a mysterious organization, and it can also determine how Sengoku should respond next. To be honest, if that organization was really related to Ron, Sengoku actually had no way to deal with it. But now he didn't have any better idea, so he could only listen to him first. To be honest, as a Marine Marshal, it is indeed very embarrassing to eavesdrop here. If this gets out, the Marine Marshal will lose face, but Sengoku doesn't care about the Marine's face or his own face at this time. He just wants to figure out one thing, whether Ron has anything to do with this organization. If he really has something to do with the organization, then he's done for. When I think of this, Sengoku couldn't help but get nervous. What's the point of saving face at this time? It's completely useless. The most important thing now is to find out whether Ron is related to this matter. If so, Sengoku would have given up struggling now. There is no point in struggling any further. And at the same time, Garp looked at Sengoku in bewilderment. What are you doing? Garp looked at Sengoku with a tense expression and pricked up his ears. To be honest, he had never seen Sengoku with such an expression before. Garp asked with a confused look on his face. Hey, what are you doing, old man? Why do I feel like you are doing something immoral? I have never seen such a wretched expression on your face. Are you doing something bad? Or are you eavesdropping? As soon as I heard this, Sengoku Changlian was so angry that he vomited blood. He just snorted coldly, then glared at Garp and then spoke slowly. Can you please do something serious instead of disturbing me? I don't have time to deal with you now. By the way, when did you come back? Didn't I ask you to do that thing just now? Have you finished it? Sengoku was furious because he had been hinting to Kagaya to go find the guy who could block the sound. That is, Razanani. How come this guy came back so soon? Could it be that he didn't understand his hint just now? That's impossible. This guy clearly showed him an affirmative expression just now, and then went out very freely. Logically speaking, with their tacit understanding over the years, it is impossible that they can't figure out what he meant. So Zhangguo looked at Garp in confusion. To be honest, he didn't dare to say it at this time, because the other party still had the ability of super hearing, so everything he said would be heard by others. He didn't want the other party to know that there was someone who could block the sound. If so, they would definitely find this person first. It would be bad if he was killed by the City 10. Request flowers? Garp made a hollow gesture, then slightly turned his body, pointed in a direction behind Garp, and then said lightly, "Look who that is. We have such a good understanding. Don't you believe me? Haha, but to be honest, we are really lucky. Guess where I found him? I found him not long after I showed up. I was lucky. Now I brought him here immediately. Can we rest assured now?" Point 0. Sengoku followed Garp's gaze and looked behind him. He couldn't help but show a happy expression on his face because he saw a familiar person. This guy is Razanani. Great, I really found him. I have to say that I am very lucky. It turns out that this guy is nearby. This is great. Now I can block out the sound. In this way, the other party will not be able to detect the sound here, and my plan will not be known by the other party. Sengoku gave Garp a thumbs up. He didn't expect that this old guy was still so reliable at the critical moment, and found it so quickly. Now he could finally rest assured. As long as he could block the sound and prevent the other party from eavesdropping on the issues they were discussing, Sengoku was confident that he could deal with the other party with his own wisdom. At this time, Sengoku just waved to Luo Sinan and said, "Prepare for 753. After all, he and Razanani have a tacit understanding. Razanani has already joined the Marine at this time, but his identity has always been hidden. Only Sengoku knows what his true identity is. So at this time, Razanani saw Sengoku's expression and immediately understood something. Then, while no one was paying attention, he quietly opened up a field in which no sound could be heard. In other words, no matter what you say in this field, it is actually completely safe and will never be revealed." Sengoku finally breathed a sigh of relief at this time. Looking at the field unfolding around him, he couldn't help but laugh. He could finally speak openly. This way, he wouldn't be afraid of the other party eavesdropping. To be honest, he was so lucky to have Razanani. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be able to deal with the other party's terrible hearing. When I think of this, Sengoku was finally able to let his voice loose and speak. "Okay, now we can rest assured. This way, our business won't be discovered by the other party. By the way, let's narrow the scope down to just the three of us." Sengoku said to Razanani that Razanani Wenyin also narrowed the scope a bit. Now only Razanani Garp and the Lord of War were within this area. Garp only spoke at this time. "What's going on? Why did you look so calm just now? Are you worried about something?" Sengoku also sighed at this time, and then spoke slowly. I don't know how to describe my current mood. What I'm most worried about now is that Ron is in the same group with them. What should I do? After all, we don't know Ron's identity or his origins. So, he is exactly the same as this mysterious organization. Is it possible that they are in the same group? And didn't you notice? Ron's strength is also extremely terrifying. He is a good match for this organization. If that's true, then how should we deal with it? Now I'm worried about this. Didn't you ask me what I was eavesdropping on just now? Actually, I was eavesdropping on their conversation. I just wanted to know what those guys were talking about. I want to hear how Zero and the invisible guy communicated." Garp heard what Sengoku said and shook his head. "Oh, so that's what you're worried about. Don't worry about that at all. I bet Ron is definitely not in the same group with them. The atmosphere around them is not right. I'm pretty good at judging people. I can tell what kind of person each person is at a glance. Ron is definitely a good person. It's completely different from that evil organization. You can trust me on this." Hearing Garp say this, Sengoku shook his head helplessly. "You are such a simple-minded person. How can you tell at a glance that a real bad guy is a bad guy?" Kazan was a little unhappy when he heard Sengoku's evaluation of him, and then said, "I'm very good at judging people. You could trust me on this. Besides, if Ron was really in league with them, why did he help us eliminate the rocks before? Have you ever thought about this? There's no need for him to help us if he's really in league with that guy. Don't forget that those guys are our Marines' enemies. We're hostile to each other. In this situation, he had no need to help the Marine before. He could have taken advantage of that opportunity to kill our Marine directly. Wouldn't that be killing two birds with one stone?" Hearing Garp's argument, Sengoku nodded. In fact, Sengoku had to admit that Garp was right, which means it's entirely possible. The other party is just that kind of person. Think of this. Jean-San frowned and then spoke slowly. "I can't rule out your statement. What you said makes sense, but I'm still a little worried." Sengoku was a very cautious man after all. The current situation concerns the life and death of Marine, so he must not be careless. If there is anything worth saying, he must say it now. There is nothing we can do about this. Then you must prepare for the worst. Even if the possibility of this suspicion is extremely low, he must be prepared to deal with it. This is Sengoku's awareness as a Marine Marshal, and this is also the main reason why he can become the resourceful general. And at this time, Razanani, who had been standing nearby, finally understood what was going on and why Sengoku would call him over. "I just saw him speaking slowly. So that's what happened. When did our Marine get into such a big trouble? What should we do?" Garp was also a little surprised at this time. He realized at this time that the guy in front of him was also a Marine. It seemed that he was a secret agent cultivated by Sengoku. So speaking of it, well done, Sengoku. I never thought you would train him to be a Marine. If I'm not mistaken, this guy should be Doflamingo's younger brother. You're amazing. Kachin never thought that he could train the pirate's brother into a Marine. This was really amazing. Of course, Sengoku didn't want to discuss this issue at this time. He shook his head and said, "Let's not discuss this issue for now. Now is a good time to block the sound while Luo Sinan is paying off his debts. This way, the organization and Ron can't hear our conversation. So we must verify Ron's identity as soon as possible. Only when we are truly sure that Ron is safe and one of our own, then everything that follows will be necessary to discuss." 130-inch. Hear this. Garp smiled and said, "Why can't you trust me just once? Don't worry, there's absolutely no problem with Ron. He is definitely not in the same group as those guys. Don't let your imagination run wild here, old man. Besides, Ron has given us many of his training methods. Even if he is an enemy, he might do something like this. Why would an enemy give us his training methods? Isn't this courting death? I believe you won't refute this, right?" Garp believed in Ron 100%. Actually, Sengoku's suspicion is not unreasonable, because from all the information currently available, there is no way to figure out Ron's origins. What is it? It's hard not to be suspicious, especially since this mysterious organization has recently appeared, and it's as mysterious as Ross, which makes people have to connect the two together. This is also very strange. Sengoku frowned and looked in Ron's direction again, who was talking to the invisible man. And Sengoku could hear what they were saying. They weren't talking behind everyone's back, but were talking very loudly. Basically, you don't have to listen carefully to hear what the other party is talking about. In fact, the content of their conversation is nothing special. It's just some questions that Sengoku asked just now, but Luo Bao only asked it once. Naturally, Sengoku was caught in a dilemma again. He didn't know what to do. After all, he had no other ideas now. I hope Ron and him are not in the same group. If they are, then we are really finished. So far, the only way to fight against that mysterious organization is to let Ron stand with us. If he is in the same group with this mysterious organization, then we are really finished. We have no chance of winning. Alas, I always thought that our Marine was very powerful, but now it seems that it is too fragile. Hearing Sengoku's plaintive tone, Garp couldn't help but smile and said, "That's not the case. It's not that our Marines are too weak. Have you ever thought that the enemy is too strong? In fact, our Marines have not been weak from the beginning to now. They are already very strong. But the enemies that have appeared recently are indeed getting stronger and stronger." Garp also expressed his feelings, because before, he thought that Marine had always been invincible and very powerful. That is now, things seem a little different. Marine doesn't seem to be that powerful anymore. This is really a speechless thing, but there is no other way. From the current perspective, now all Marine can do is to find a reliable partner. Only in this way can he keep up with the changes in the world. If this mysterious organization is not the only enemy, if there are still such mysterious and powerful enemies, how should Marine deal with it? This poses a huge test to the future development of Marine. Sengoku also had to change his thinking at this time. He could not use the old thinking to manage Marine, otherwise Marine would not be able to keep up with the changes of this era. This era was too turbulent. Then, Sengoku turned and looked at Ron. The most urgent task now is to win it over to his own camp. Otherwise, their Marine will not be qualified to make decisions on this world stage, and the first one to be eliminated may be Marine. So he must win Ron over now. So he hopes that Ron is not in cahoots with the other side. This money was from Li and Zhao. Garp also patted Sengoku's shoulder, smiled at him, and said, "Okay, don't think too much now, I believe Ron. He is definitely on our side. He is definitely not a member of that mysterious organization. Let's stop guessing here. Let's go over and see how Ron asks questions. Maybe he can find out something that we didn't ask just now." I have to admit it. After saying this, Garp was finally able to relax. It seemed that Sengoku finally stopped doubting Ron. In fact, Garp least wanted Sengoku to doubt Ron, because to him, Ron was a very rare and strong man. And Garp could feel that Ron was a good person and definitely not a member of those evil organizations. So he should not let this misunderstanding create a rift between them. That was what Garp least wanted to see, but luckily Sengoku didn't suspect anything in the end. This is the best outcome. Garp looked at Sengoku and walked towards Ron. This guy also left the place where the sound was blocked. Instead, he waved 880 to Razanani beside him and said, "You come with me." Razanani looked at Sengoku's back and nodded. Following closely behind Sengoku, Garp also stretched at this time, then walked forward with satisfaction. Even took a few quick steps and caught up with Sengoku. At this time, Sengoku said to Garp, "Hurry up. Why are you walking so slowly?" They've finished talking, but we haven't even gotten there yet. After Sengoku untied his knot, his mentality improved a lot. In this case, he will completely trust Ron. Actually, but I also knew that I had no choice. If I doubted Ron, the outcome would be that Marine would definitely lose. Because from this perspective, there is no way to win this battle without relying on Ron. So what's the point in doubting Ron here? It will only cause yourself more trouble. It is better to just say ha and put all the bets on Ron. At this time, Sengoku stretched and then walked forward slowly. As he walked, he spoke to Garp again. "When today is over, notify the world government to come over. It looks like we need to hold a very important meeting." Hearing this, Garp said with some disdain, "What's there to discuss with those guys? They don't know anything. I really don't want to see them. If you want to discuss something, go and discuss it with him. Old customers don't go to them. Just looking at them makes me very angry. I really can't stand it." It's no wonder that Garp would say that. After all, Garp and the world government people are not very friendly, especially celestial dragons. Garp hates celestial dragons the most, so it's impossible for him to go find celestial dragons. He doesn't usually come into contact with celestial dragons. Sengoku was a little speechless when he saw Garp's expression, but there was nothing he could do. As an old friend, Sengoku knew exactly what kind of person Garp was. Then, Sengoku sighed and then said, "Well, you're such a jerk. You still refuse to let go of this moment in your heart. If you keep doing this, it won't be a good thing. For us, the world government is also an indispensable force. We also have to rely on the world government, so we should not make the relationship too awkward. At this time, when we're facing a powerful enemy, we should not care about the gains and losses in the past, Garp." Sengoku didn't know if he could persuade Garp this time. After all, Garp was a stubborn guy. No matter how much you told him about something he hated, it was useless. This was really annoying. To be honest, this character had caused Sengoku a lot of trouble in the past 2 years. But there was no other way. The current situation forced him to unite with the world government, because with the current much-needed force of Marine, there was no way to fight against such a huge organization alone. But, considering the current relationship between Garp and the world government, it's difficult to achieve a pleasant cooperation. This won't work. Actually, Sengoku couldn't help it either. After all, from the current perspective, it can only come little by little. Garp seemed to know what Sengoku was planning, but he snorted even more disdainfully, then slowly looked at Sengoku and spoke slowly. "We are trying to get the skin of a tiger and dancing with wolves. The celestial dragons are not good people. There is no benefit for us to be with them. They will only use us, and they're not good people either. Anyway, Garp hates celestial dragons extremely. There's nothing he can do about it. It is understandable. After all, what celestial dragons did is really unbearable for normal people, and Kafu's original purpose of being a Marine was not to protect celestial dragons. He had his own purposes as a Marine, so he never had a good face towards celestial dragons. And the reason why celestial dragons could tolerate Garp being so rampant in the Marine was actually very simple. That is it. Garp is just too strong. So strong that it scares everyone. Even the world government cannot confront Garp head-on. So, they can only let Garp act arrogantly here, but they don't have any solution. Actually, this is understandable. And at this time, the most upset one was Sengoku. After all, this was not the situation he wanted to see. For him, the most important thing is to ease the relationship between Garp and celestial dragons. Otherwise, the world government and the Marine will never be able to work together to defeat the powerful enemy. This is not acceptable. Facing such a powerful enemy, if we cannot show such a united attitude, we will have no chance of winning. Please give me flowers." So Sengoku continued. "No matter how you treat celestial dragons in the future, at least we should get along well with them this time. Only in this way can we gather all our strength together and fight against this huge organization. because I still don't know how big this organization is, and I don't know how many people this organization has hidden inside us. And I suspect that even the world government has people from this organization lurking there. So if we can't work together with one mind, we will probably be disintegrated by the enemy from within. Sengoku is worthy of being called the resourceful general, as he thinks in a comprehensive way. However, Garp cannot think so much. He just acts based on his feelings. He just doesn't like celestial dragons and can't stand their way of doing things, so he doesn't indulge them at all. Then, Garp said, "Forget it. You can communicate with them later. I will just not cause any trouble, but it is absolutely impossible for me to talk to them calmly." Hear this. Sengoku was already speechless. There is really no way to convince this stubborn old man. Let him think whatever he wants. There is no way to convince him anyway. As long as he doesn't make trouble, it will be fine. Sengoku was very satisfied with the answer. As long as he didn't cause any trouble, the next step would be easy to handle. As long as he was responsible for communicating with the world government and cooperating with them, there shouldn't be any problem. So, 320 Sengoku looked at Garp and said, "Okay, as long as you don't come to make trouble, then you can say anything, but don't forget what you said. Don't come to make trouble. If you really don't come to make trouble, then don't blame me for being rude. At this critical moment, you'd better be quiet," Sengoku said to Garp in mock anger. However, Garp didn't take it to heart at all. He said cheerfully while looking at Sengoku, "Haha, don't worry. Since I promised you, I will definitely not let you lose face. You will be responsible for communicating with those old guys from the world government. I promise that I will not cause any trouble during your communication, and I will not even appear in front of them. That should be fine, so that you can communicate with them properly." Sengoku snorted, then continued, "Don't mess up not only when we are communicating, but also at ordinary times. Remember, from now on until this matter is completely resolved, don't mess up. Do you hear me?" Sengoku warned Garp again and again. After all, he was very afraid that Garp would cause trouble for him. Garp flicked his hands helplessly, then said with a smile, "Don't worry. Don't you still believe what I say? Well, have I ever lied to you? If I say I won't make trouble, then I definitely won't make trouble. You can trust me. I am very credible in this area, and I keep my word." Hear this. Sengoku almost died of rage. "When will you keep your word, old man? How can you make me trust you? I have warned you again and again because I don't trust you. Don't you understand? You, old man, really make me die of anger. Also, I'm telling you one last time. Don't ever forget what you just said." Sengoku is really impressed by this old man. This guy actually has the nerve to say that he is a very sexual person, and he wants me to believe him. Doesn't he know how much trouble this guy has caused me over the years? How can I believe him? It is because I don't believe him that he tells me this. But I was too lazy to continue talking because he knew that Garp would never be able to listen to what he said. So, I could only spread my hands and said, "Okay, let's go over and see what Ron and the invisible guy are communicating about. Let's see if Rowan can get some information that we don't know." Garp also said with great anticipation, "Just now, while you were talking, I just heard what they were talking about. They really talked about a topic that we didn't talk about. Well, this guy seemed to have talked about the location of Duifeng's headquarters. 001-290-331-8Filu-1-105-21561. Sengoku was stunned when he heard Garp say that. He glared at Garp fiercely. Sure enough, when I was talking to him just now, he didn't listen carefully at all. Instead, he was listening to Ron's conversation. Don't take your words to heart at all. However, Sengoku was slightly stunned when he reacted. What? Ron actually talked about the location of the other party's headquarters? This surprised Sengoku. After all, he had been talking for such a long time, but couldn't come up with something. How could Ron come up with it so quickly? It was really unlikely. How did this guy do it? He had clearly asked the guy very clearly before. He clearly said that he didn't know where their headquarters was. And Sengoku also knew that the other party was not lying at all. From the other party's expression or the way he spoke, he didn't find any trace of lying. Sengoku believed in his own eyes. After all, he had been interrogating prisoners for many years, so it was absolutely impossible for him to make mistakes in this regard. but Ron was able to find out the location of the other party's headquarters. How could this be possible? He clearly judged that the invisible guy in front of him didn't know anything at all. Why did Ron get this answer from a person who knew nothing? How'd he do it? He even thought that Garp had misheard. After all, he was busy talking just now, so he didn't hear what the other party said. And this news was told to him by Garp just now. Maybe Garp had misheard. No matter how you look at it, it is impossible. After all, he had just gone through such strict identity verification, coercion, and inducement, and knew clearly that the other party didn't know his specific whereabouts at all. So how could a person answer something he doesn't know at all? That guy didn't even know where their headquarters was. So why could he answer this question? So to sum up, Garp must have heard it wrong and came to this conclusion. Only this is the most reasonable answer. Sengoku looked at Garp again in disbelief. This guy is always so unreliable. I guess he will be unreliable this time too. So, Sengoku said to Garp, Hey, did you hear me wrong? You've heard a lot of things. You've done a lot of these kinds of blunders before. Are you only causing trouble for me this time? Garp coughed twice. I was speechless about Sengoku's perception of him. How could this old man always look at me with such prejudice? When did I ever hold you back? I was very serious. Okay? Then Garp said calmly, how could I have heard it wrong? It was just a few words, and I didn't miss a single word. If you don't believe me, just ask the person next to you what's her name. Roz and Andy, right? Come over here and tell me if they were discussing this matter just now. Garp refers to Roz and Annie next to Sengoku. At this time, Roz and Annie was slightly stunned, and then looked at Sengoku 167. At this time, Sengoku also saw Roz and Annie. Then he said lightly, did you hear that clearly? Just tell me what you heard. I also want to see what's going on. I don't trust that guy, but I trust your words. So tell me exactly what they said just now. I believe you can hear it. Sengoku still trusted this most worthy Razanani under his command, so he hoped that he could speak out. After all, he would not doubt what he said. Razanani 1 looked at Sengoku in confusion. To be honest, before he had always been in the dark, rarely exposed to the public. This time, he was exposed to the sun, which meant that his future spy career would be over. After all, a person who had been exposed could no longer go to the enemy to inquire about information. So Luo Sinan didn't want to show up at first, but it was Sengoku's fate. He showed up after this. He didn't know what happened here before he came, and only after he came did he finally understand why Sengoku was so eager to find him. It turns out that Marine is facing such a big trouble now, and it turns out that there is such a powerful enemy who is targeting Marine. After staying here for half a day, he has figured out the whole story. That is to say, here, you will hear a very big secret. So when Razanani came here, he was always paying attention to everyone around him, eavesdropping on their every move. What on earth were they talking about? This was his best skill as an undercover agent. And at this time, when Sengoku looked at him with a very serious look and asked this question, Razanani was just a little stunned at first because he didn't know what was going on. But at this moment, he suddenly took a deep breath and said, I did hear what they said. When he heard Razanani say this, Sengoku couldn't help but get a chill, and then he couldn't wait to grab Razanani's shoulders, shook them hard, and then asked him directly, explain. What's going on? What did they say? I can't wait to know what they are researching and talking about over there. And is it true, as Garp said, that they have already found out where the other party's base is? How is this possible? I didn't even find out before. How could he have found out? Did Garp hear it wrong? Tell me quickly, did she hear it wrong, or did she really find out? That's impossible, right? I have to say, Razanani was really confused at this time. At this time, Sengoku was very anxious. There is nothing we can do about this. After all, Sengoku wants to know now. What's going on? Sengoku took a deep breath and continued. Hurry up and tell me everything you just heard. I can't wait any longer. Don't waste your time with me. I don't have that much time to waste now. Go ahead, Zero. At this time, Razanani couldn't help but take a breath, and then he spoke slowly, because he had already sensed Sengoku's urgency. Sengoku had never shown this expression before. Ever since Luo Sinan's enemy was Sengoku, this guy had always been relatively stable and did everything in an orderly manner. But now, he did show that expression. This is very strange indeed. At this time, Razanani also knew that she could not waste any more time and had to tell Sengoku everything he wanted to know, so that Sengoku would feel at ease. So Luo Sinan said carefully, I did hear what they said, and Garp was right. That man was the one you called Ron, and he did find out where the other party's base was. This scared Sengoku. He never thought that the other party would actually ask this question. How could this be possible? It was unbelievable. To be honest, Sengoku had never thought that Ron could ask about the location of the base camp. He was a little bit unconvinced when Garp told him before. After all, Sengoku had always been skeptical about Garp's character. Although this guy would not let him down at the critical moment, who could be sure that he was not joking just now? So Sengoku pulled Razanani over to ask him whether he heard it or not. After all, Sengoku only believed Razanani now. When Sengoku heard the answer given by Razanani, he was stunned. This surprise was too big a blow to him. If Ron really asked where the enemy soldiers were, then this battle would be much easier. At present, the most troublesome thing for Sengoku is that he doesn't know who the enemy is and where the enemy is. This is the most troublesome thing. If this most troublesome thing can be solved, then Marine's current situation will be much better than before. This is also the problem that Zhanggu has always wanted to solve, but no matter what he does, he cannot solve this problem. So he is very upset now. But who could have thought? Suddenly someone told him that the problem could be solved. This feeling. He really didn't know how to describe his feelings for a moment. So awesome. He really wanted to know. What was the answer, Ron asked. He wanted to see how shocking the answer was. So he turned his gaze to Razanani again. Then, asked lightly, I'm ready to hear your answer. Now tell me, what exactly did they say? Where's the location that Ron asked about? Is it far from our choice? I don't know what their staff looks like. Perhaps because he was too anxious, Sengoku asked many questions at once. For a moment, Razanani didn't know how to answer. At this time, Razanani then sighed and spoke slowly. Mr. Sengoku, you have so many questions, I don't know which one to start answering first, Beak. Sengoku said, somewhat speechlessly. You idiot, just pick a random question to start with. Is this even a valid question? You idiot. Sengoku, I am speechless. Razanani touched the back of his head awkwardly and then said this lightly. Okay, then I'll first answer the question about where the location is that Ron asked. To be honest, I don't know exactly where this location is, but one thing is certain, it is very far away from our Marine headquarters. This is why our Marine headquarters didn't find him for so long, because the place where he was hiding was too remote and was not within the coverage of our Marine. So it's understandable that we didn't find him. Luo Sinan was first afraid that Sengoku would be embarrassed, so he gave Sengoku a way out first. Sengoku waved his hand to signal Razanani to just speak directly. Razanani then continued. Actually, this location, right at the beginning of the Grand Line. Hear this answer. Sengoku was stunned for a moment. He really didn't understand where the Grand Line started. To be honest, Sengoku was indeed confused when he heard the news. He really didn't understand why he was there. The beginning of the Grand Line, this is a place that everyone needs to go through, a place that everyone will pass by. How could such a huge and secretive organization be in such an obvious place? It should be absolutely impossible. Hear this. Even Garp looked confused. He asked again very seriously. What? Are you sure that the answer you heard is correct? It seems that what Lao Fu heard just now was not this answer. Besides, how could they be at the beginning of the Grand Line? This is too exaggerated. Do you know how many people pass by there every day? How could they not be discovered in such an obvious place? Moreover, the beginning of the Grand Line is such a short section. There is no place to hide. If they were there, how could they not be discovered for such a long time? In fact, Garp didn't quite hear what Ron said before. He was just fooling the three kingdoms, lying to them that he heard it clearly, but in fact he was not very clear. So when he heard Razanani say this location, he was still shocked. He really couldn't imagine how it could be at this location. He once suspected that Razanani didn't hear it clearly either and deliberately lied to him. Razanani couldn't help but laugh when he heard him say that. Then he smiled while dragging his forehead. How could you have heard it wrong? Didn't Mr. Garp hear this position just now? How could this be possible? He clearly said this position just now. How could you not hear it? Pit 2 said you didn't hear it at all. This sentence made Ka Chien very embarrassed. He just laughed twice and then said this. Haha, how is that possible? I clearly heard it just now, but the answer I heard is a little different from yours. Maybe I didn't hear it clearly, or maybe you didn't hear it clearly, so our answers are different. Besides, how could I not hear it? Garp is a very face-conscious person, so he is very serious about what he says. Sengoku was a little speechless. As soon as he saw Garp's expression, he knew that this guy most likely didn't hear anything, which was why he made that expression. He knew this old guy too well. Whenever he showed this kind of expression, it was usually when he didn't hear anything. Request flowers. Sengoku just waved his hands speechlessly and then spoke to Razaneti. What's the exact location? After all, the Grand Line intersection is so obvious, there's nowhere for them to hide. Although Garp is unreliable, his suspicion is correct. If this is really the place, then where is such a large organization hiding? 0. Have you heard any other news? Sengoku really wanted to hear more from Razaneti, so I asked very seriously. Razaneti also waved his hand at this time. After all, he had only heard this little bit of news just now, and he didn't listen to the rest of the conversation. So he felt helpless now. That's all I heard. I didn't really hear anything else. So, what's going on? I don't know anything else now. If you want to know more, let's go and ask them directly.
Hello, everyone. As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500-plus novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.